May 20th, 2025, and I'd like to call the Village of Sugar Grove Board meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have a quorum here tonight. If we could have a roll call, please, Tracy.
President Stoll.
Here.
Trustee Lundy.
Here.
Trustee Bonnie.
Here.
Trustee Michaels.
Here.
Trustee Special.
Here.
Trustee London.
Here.
Trustee Russell.
Here.
We now have a public hearing. Is there anyone signed up for a public hearing?
We don't have any public hearings this morning.
All right. We have a presentation on the construction and design update for the police department. I'm sorry, we have a proclamation. A proclamation declaring Monday, May 26th, Memorial Day in the Village of Sugar Grove. Whereas Memorial Day serves as a solemn reminder of the impact of war and its aftermath of sorrow, and whereas on this Memorial Day we honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our country, and we comfort those who have lost loved ones. We are forever indebted to those who have sacrificed in defense of our freedom. Whereas we pay tribute to the next generation of citizens who have chosen to serve in the United States Armed Forces, as they are not just committed but unwaveringly dedicated, sustaining a legacy of patriotism. Whereas today and every day, let us honor our fallen fellow Americans, known and unknown, who sacrificed their freedom to ensure our own. Now, therefore, I, Sue Stillwell, Village President of Sugar Grove, along with the village trustees, hereby declare that Monday, May 26, 2025 is Memorial Day in the Village of Sugar Grove. I call the observance of Memorial Day to the attention of all of our residents. On Memorial Day, I ask everyone to come together at home, work, or places of worship to pray for lasting peace. Let's also pray for the well-being and prosperity of the Village of Sugar Grove, Illinois, and the United States of America.
Ask for a motion and second.
Do we have a motion and a second for the board to adopt the proclamation for Memorial Day?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Trustee Special and second by Trustee London. The motion passes. Can we have a roll call, please, Tracy?
Trustee Special.
Yes.
Trustee London.
Aye.
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee Russell.
Aye.
We now have a presentation on the construction and design update for police department and this. Thank you.
Good evening. It's been a little while since we talked about the police department remodel and expansion, so just a little bit of a background. Over 2 years ago, the police department moved over to occupy the south side of the building, and is now on both sides. So during that time frame, we worked with an architectural firm to develop a space needs study. And then in September, we brought Gordon and Clark on board, September 2024, to work on the concept plan with us. They were here in January of 2025 with a few concept plans, and over the past couple of months, we've been refining the design for the police department. He's got great staff here with him, as well as in the office. This is Brian from Gordon Clark. I'm going to turn it over, and he can explain where we're at today with our desire to remodel and expand the police department.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening. Brian Kroger, Principal with Gordon and Clark. It's a great introduction by Chief. We have been working diligently for the past 6 months. About 6 months, I'm advancing the calendar a little quick. About 5 months of refining the design from the earlier concept that was mentioned that we came up with last year. So just some first slide. Can Melissa advance the slides?
Yep.
First slide is a summary schedule of where we have been and where we're going. We're in the design phase piece of these critical path method schedule. This is actually a much more expanded, detailed schedule, but I just wanted to summarize it to give you an outlook of where we're at and where we're going. We just finished up the design development phase at the beginning of May. We're here today to talk with you guys about an update as to where we are design-wise, review some options that we have developed, talk a little bit about the cost development over the course of the last 5 months. The next phase then is to create construction documents or bidding documents so we can bid the project to a number of primary contractors. We'll be the construction manager on the project too, so we will bid this out to probably 12 to 15 various contractors ranging from a site contractor, the typical plumbing, mechanical, electrical, carpentry, masonry, foundation, concrete, those types of bid packages we put together. We will then put it out to bid. We'll be going out for permit too as we're going ready for bid, so that'll be happening too. The bidding will go take place at July 10th through July 31st. We'll have a walkthrough for contractors interested in bidding at around 7/18, 7/21, and then we'll open bids at the end of July. Upon opening the bids, we'll review all the various contracts that were bid and the contractors and their qualifications, their bid scopes, thorough understanding of the bidding process and their project bids. I have with me Lauren Kiley, who's the project manager on the design side, and John Cotton, who will be our project manager on the construction side. Once we vet the bidders, we will put together a bid recommendation letter to the village to award the various recommended contractors at their lowest responsible number. And then at that point, we'll also provide any alternates that were bid and recommendations on those alternates so that the board could make any selections on alternates at that time. Once that's done, the contracts will then be issued by our company to the various contractors, and assuming everybody passes the recommendations, and then we'll begin construction right around August, mid to late August. And then complete the project in August of 25. So about a year from construction, 26, sorry. Very good. So that's the time frame. So now I'd like to walk you through, some of you have seen some of these drawings back in January. There's some new members here, so I'd like to kind of walk you through some of the components of the design. And we're going to kind of lay over some alternates that are also going to be bid at the same time, so I'm going to do it. It'll be a dual purpose slide here. This is a rendering of a site plan for the building. You'll see a hatch line to the left side, which is the west side of the property. That will have the new expansion, the new addition. The new addition is primarily composed of Sallyport, evidence garage, and evidence storage. That is sorely lacking, really non-existent in the current facility, so that is a necessary component that is needed for the police station. One thing I'd like to point out, the front parking lot is in in a needy position, a needy state. We felt after talking to Scott and others that the asphalt surface should be milled down and relaid, and that could be part of the capital paving program as the village moves forward with any of their paving projects. Instead of burdening the project with the cost of that, we thought putting it into a separate budget made sense. In addition to doing that, while we're out there milling the surface off, one of the things that is, you probably noticed it today as you walked into the building, all the surface, the roof drainage drains into downspouts and then flows out onto the parking lot. Not a good thing to do for lots of reasons. In addition to deterioration, ice builds up in the winter and it might freeze and thaw, and that's not a good component to have. So we're going to fix that and tie those downspouts into a pipe that's out in the middle of the parking lot and have the stormwater drainage actually get picked up through that. While we're doing that, obviously then we'll rebuild the surface and have a new parking lot when it's all said and done. Additionally, there are no curbs around the parking lot. We felt that putting barrier curbs, especially around the front of the building there, that would help from a security standpoint, so a vehicle potentially, if they slipped or ran over the curb, to run into the building. So that would be a feature that would be added to this project. Additionally, we thought removing that concrete walk and putting some barrier planters there, made out of concrete, would add another layer of security. Many of our police stations we designed today have these types of barriers, so any vehicle that might be intended to go past the curb and hit into the building could be stopped by that barrier. So those are site improvements that are in that budget that we felt were appropriate to include in the project. With that, I'm going to move to the building floor plan. You'll see a key on the right side of the floor plan there that lists all the various components, departments, and other components of the design, ranging from administrative, detention and booking, evidence, horizontal circulation, this means the corridors, there's an investigations color. Color's a little hard to detect, to tell what they are, but at the end of the day, I think they're self-explanatory. As I mentioned before, the addition is circled on the left-hand side. As you can see, there's a sally port and evidence garage. There's also the lab and processing for evidence, which is an important part of modern policing that is woefully lacking in today's Sugar Grove Police Station. And then some mechanical space and other storage space. That's on the addition side. The interior of the building is pretty much a total gut or demolition and rebuild. There wasn't a lot of walls that were worth retaining, with the exception of the mechanical room and IT closet that are right there. And we tried to keep those components in place due to the fact that moving them gets to be expensive. Otherwise, if you're an officer, you have the secure parking side, which is the back side of the building. All the squad would be parked back there, and they would enter into one of the two primary entrances for patrol. The patrol area is actually this side of the boardroom there. That this boardroom will be converted into lockers, shower, and changing for the patrol. There's also a duty bag storage will be coming right off the main entrance from the patrol side, and then some basically patrol book report writing will be part of this space. The other component, if you're an admin, there's another door off to the west side where there is conference facilities, some toilet rooms, janitor's closet, a wellness space, and then offices for the chief and deputy chief, as well as a break room and records and some storage for records and another toilet room. As the public entrance side, which is the main part of the front of the building, you would come in through a secured vestibule that has bullet-resistant glazing on the inside set of doors, as well as a bullet-resistant glazing for any of the transactions counter on the booking side. If you're a patron who needs some records, can go to that, and there's a bullet-resistant transaction window there. If you do enter into the building, you come into a secure lobby that has toilet rooms, a toilet room, and a soft an interview room. If you want to turn to the right, there's going to be a kind of a multi-purpose space that serves a lot of different functions, including roll call, training, any other conferencing that would be necessary for the police department. So that would kind of conclude the secure area of the facility. If you're a detainee coming in through an arrest, you would come through the sally port, escorted, and then an officer would take you through that door just to the right as you entered into that pink section of the sally port into booking. In booking, you would get processed. There's a toilet facilities and 2 secure cells are in that, as well as 2 interview rooms. The interview rooms actually have 2 doors on them. On the front side or the back side of that interview room is a door that leads into the detective area. So there's a shared detective office that exists on the backside corridor. There's some storage for the multifunction multi-function, multi-purpose space. There's a electronic surveillance space, and then right, that's the chief. Okay, so the glasses. Sorry. Big lamp. Can't read too far away. An armory. The armory, of course, right, is right out to the left of the detectives. So that gets you the back part of the office, and then the, as I mentioned, evidence storage, processing, bag and tag, and then storage, then mechanical and storage space. There's a bond out space right off the corridor in the Sallyport, that if bonding never comes back, it would be bonded out through the backside. Any questions on the floor plan? Okay.
I have a question, just curiosity. You know, you have two interview rooms next door. So if you have two different people, the same, I mean, do you want them separate? Is there some kind of, you know, can somebody hear the other side of the wall?
So that's one of the considerations we discussed, and we'll make sure that there's soundproofing involved. So that is, we're limited in this space, and the most important thing is we have to keep the cell separate. If we have a male or a female, they have to be sight and sound. If we have to hold interview rooms simultaneously, we'll find another space for the second interview.
Okay.
So, but it may just be, you know, we might have some juveniles that were brought in, and we're waiting on the parents to come pick them up, versus taking them into the detention area. They'll just sit across from the detectives, and you know, and the detective can watch them until they're picked up. But you're absolutely correct. Ideally, you see in most police departments multiple interview rooms side by side, but there is building materials to best soundproof the rooms.
Thank you.
On the floor plan, it seems like a long walk for the chief and deputy chief to walk around to the conference room. Is there any way to consolidate that janitor's closet so that there could be a passageway put through there to the conference room? Or switch the conference room and the break room, and maybe move some of the equipment around so that, because that just seems like a lot of walking for staff.
No, I appreciate that. It is, and we like to get our steps in. But we also want to be able to utilize that conference room for other purposes, for other individuals, for staff to also take advantage of that room and not interfere with the administration portion of it at the same time. So I appreciate what you're saying. If there was an adjacent, you know, cut out our door between our offices and the conference room, but this won't be a hindrance for us. So, and you got to remember, this building, it looks long and big here, but if you just go back to where our break room is today, you know, that's, you know, like 50 feet from here, so it's not long.
It's just inefficient.
It is, yes, correct.
Accumulates over.
Yeah, but I would rather not have our office space adjacent to the conference room for carryover noise or people coming and going. So,
I do appreciate you moving the washrooms away.
yes, that's a great suggestion.
One component you'll see up in the upper right-hand corner about added scope since we began the process back in January. And doing the code review for this project, it was built under an older code, of course, as police and village hall. And today's new codes, a building such as a police station is considered an essential facility. So in order to meet that code requirement, the building had to get some retrofitting for the existing structure. So this is a truss roof, you know, it's kind of typical stick construction that needed to have clips attached to every truss that is attached to the outside wall so that the building would not blow away as much in a tornado situation. So we had to do that and add some shear walls on the inside of the building to meet the essential facility requirement. That was an add since January of about $64,000. Any questions on that?
So our current evacuation place right now is the booking rooms and the cells. So we would have to gather this entire group, move them into our cells, which is in Urbana today. But because we're repurposing that space, the new facility for the safe room.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that
Oh, I'm
next.
sorry.
Sorry.
Okay.
So it's about storm shelter, what Chief's mentioning, so that's gonna be the next slide. So another code requirement that has come up in recent years is the requirement for a major project that is a renovation or an addition such as this, which meets that criteria, because the building is pretty much 100% renovation project, plus you have the ability to put an addition on here, is a need to put a storm shelter in these types of essential facilities. As Chief mentioned, it was a pseudo safe room that was in the original building that did not necessarily meet the requirements of today's storm shelter code, which is far more stringent. The storm shelter code today basically means that section of the building needs to stand up while the rest of the building could collapse around it. So that required a more stout construction methodology for the portion of the addition, which is basically the garage portion of the building, which is hashed in that diagram, floor plan below. That whole section will be built to storm shelter standards. And the requirement to do that means every opening, like the overhead doors, the man doors, have to be storm rated doors and garage doors. Storm rated garage doors or doors we have to require to be able to withstand a projectile coming at 250 miles an hour, a 2x4 if you will, so it wouldn't penetrate into the storm shelter. So that's the outside walls are also reinforced concrete block with fully grouted cells and rebar to allow that section of the exterior wall to have that same standard for penetrations to avoid anything coming through the walls. In addition to that, you can see at the section, which is the upper drawing, there's a concrete, thick concrete looking diagram there. That's actually precast concrete planks, which are often used for office buildings and other things for floor structures. This is, again, kind of the exterior, the lid of the storm shelter to, again, prevent anything from coming through. Even if you have a stud or a truss roof on top, that would not be able to stop the projectile. The concrete lid must support the entire structure as well as anything penetrating through that roof. So what you have is basically a concrete box there that has to stand alone. Very expensive to do these types of things, and we had to account for that in the cost of the updated budget. So the added cost for the storm shelter is noted up on the upper right-hand corner. That added about $157,000 to the budget to meet that requirement. Again, that felt like an important component for public safety to have that. I know there was some talk that this might be a temporary police station, but temporary is still 15 plus years into the future. It felt prudent to meet the requirements today. As the agency who's got jurisdiction over this, the village could waive that if they so chose. We don't believe that's in their best interest. Any questions on this component?
Do you have any backup generator required in here?
In the storm shelter?
Yes.
No, we have an induction system, a battery that would keep the life safety features. There is a generator, but that's not for the storm
no,
shelter.
yeah.
Yes, and there's a requirement for basically a portable toilet system.
Right,
Yeah.
I had to do one
You've had to do
recently.
it.
So,
It's very interesting,
yes.
but they're expensive, as you could attest.
Yes.
Any other questions on the storm shelter? Great. So the next drawing is a series of renderings and showing you some bird's eye views. One looking from the north, one looking from the south of what the exterior of the building is going to look like. The intent for the design is pretty much to disguise everything that was there, upgrade everything on the exterior facade, such as the vinyl siding, which is not a very commonly used commercial material for modern structures, provide a new front entryway that's identifiable as a front entryway, which is actually an infill addition too, I forgot to mention that. And then just upgrade the look of the building to give it a presence as a municipal government building. This view, which you saw on the cover page, is actually the people view of the new entryway. We were trying to be somewhat complementary to the design of the library to some degree. It's got some natural woods for the accent pieces on the columns of the new covered entryway. There's a lot of glass there to bring in some natural light and actually, have a presence as the entryway. You can see the series of concrete planters that also, provide a barrier to the any vehicles that might be attempted to want to come into the building. One other thing to note, we have a new roof going on. We put in new gutters and fascias, as well as new soffits. After talking to Brad about the soffit conditions, we initially were going to try to retain those and paint them, but everybody felt it was in the best interest to just replace them. And then at that point, changing the color scheme of the exterior to a more organic, natural brownish look felt to be an appropriate step to make. You also see where the siding and or structural glazed tile was on where the window section is in the building. All the windows are new. That siding will be replaced, if it was vinyl, replaced with a composite commercial type material. You've probably seen a Hardy Board or LP product. It's a composite used in commercial construction all the time. So that's the new design on the front side of the building.
If we may, on those columns, I noticed that the library's wood truss is weathered over the years. What type of material do you plan on using on the columns?
We are going to use a cedar wood.
So
It'll be sealed, so we're trying to, it needs to be maintained periodically and get a fresh coat seal. Luckily, it's relatively limited in scale.
Or maybe change it to an LP or a Hardy product that just can be painted.
That's an option. We can look at that. It does, they have a simulated wood look to it.
Yeah.
So, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was asking, are you then raising the ceiling in the foyer there?
It does raise up, yes. Yeah, that glass is, where's the ceiling height?
Yeah, they say it's
15 feet, yeah. Any other questions on this rendering? If not, we'll move forward. Okay, so here's an option that we're looking at. Actually, we included this in the base estimate right now. If you recall, there's some of these, that lower right-hand picture is how these ends of the gable ends are built out. They kind of push out past the main wall of the building and create these boxed-in overhangs, if you will. We're not fans of that necessarily from an aesthetic standpoint, because we're trying to change the look a little bit. What we're proposing is change the bottom right, which would just be a replacement of siding, and change the color, leave the box out, to something that is more akin to the new front facade gable end, which you see some accents to kind of give you a little more character to the exterior on that gable end. So that we're proposing, we would replace any of those boxed out overhangs to be a flat section that has a kind of vertical wood element. Up on the upper left is the rendering of what that section might look like. Okay?
Approximate cost to do that?
John, what did we have? My team will find it. I had it out there. 37,000, because there's more than just one end, there's another end, about 37,000. Again, that's a maintenance thing. We felt that making it look appropriate was the right move. As you can see, this is the addition here on the In the background there, we see the overhead doors for the sally port and evidence garage, and we're treating that end condition of the gable in that manner here. So trying to, again, repeat that across all the gable ends. Felt like a move that at least ties the entire building together.
Are the downspouts in the back tied to a main drain like in the front? I didn't see that. I saw that there was a drain, but I didn't see the back line.
No, so we are planning to just sort of drain to that perimeter area where we will have river rock. But on the front side for the two new downspouts that are along the canopy, those will connect into the main drain system. There just isn't one here currently.
There's not a storm line in the back.
Oh,
So it was easy to do it in the front because there's a storm line in the middle of the parking lot. We'd have to route it
okay.
around. I mean, it would be difficult,
No,
thanks.
no, I understand.
Is there a storm back
There's
there?
storm- Yeah, there was a storm shown, storm drain shown. on the
Well, we
drawing.
could explore that, Brad. I didn't really think about, we were not gonna mill and overlay the lot back there, but if we're gonna do that, that could be the time to do it. Is it in the lot, Brad? or
Yeah.
Is the storm line in the lot?
Yes.
Is it-
Yeah.
Well, that would be the time to do it. So all those drain lines are,
What I worry about is,
again,
if that's enough of it, you know.
it's not great. I would much rather prefer it to be
I
tied
don't-
together.
Yeah, I'd rather it go to a storm drain.
Brad, is this the original parking lot?
No, it was done in, you were here, what, 20,
Yeah.
was it like 2004 or 5, somewhere shortly after?
Yeah, I think so.
Was it that
It's
long?
been 20 years ago.
Okay, yeah. And this building was built in '92, just for everybody's reference.
He just did a new mill and overlay in 2000. Well, tying that in would be a wise choice. I would fully agree. If you guys are good with that, we'll add it to the scope.
I think it would save on the asphalt, it's also a safety factor, so you don't worry about ice coming there to the.
100%. So that leads us to cost. So this is just a summary section. Last time I provided a whole detailed 10-page estimate that we put together. Didn't want to bore you with that. It's available for anybody who wants to have it. Scott's got it. So the summary, as you can see, here's basically on the left side, divisions 2 through 32, basically summarize all the data behind that. One of the things I wanted to note is that added scope, since we last budgeted this a few months back, the essential facility I mentioned, the storm shelter I mentioned, replacing the vinyl siding with composite siding and the new soffit replacement. If we decide to add, and then on the very bottom you can see value adds or adds. The exterior monument is one, and then the mill and resurfacing of the parking lot is about $165,000, which includes the front downspout drainage. We would add to that if we need to do the back side too, so it'll go up a little bit. So looking at then the contingencies, which are now at 8% since we're further along in design. Escalation is at 6%. And we also added a little bit of cost in for some tariff pressure we're seeing, so that bumped up the number a little bit because of tariffs. Then we have bonds and insurance, general requirements, CM fees, and then soft costs. Soft costs are a percentage of the hard costs and design fees. And then other reimbursables include some FF&E, fixtures, furniture, and equipment, and other civil engineering, surveying, soil borings, and other miscellaneous costs. Looking at value adds, I'm going to walk you through some of these now. So as I mentioned, this one here, this is that in condition, worth about $37,000. Again, that's up to you guys whether you want to pursue that or not.
Brian, can you just clarify that you're going through them today, but they'll be part of the bid package and you'll come back and the board will decide on these value adds at that time as the
Yes.
final decision.
It felt like this would be an easy alternate to bid out. If we have a good day on bid day and things look good, we could choose to accept that bid alternate and then have a comment or a little more of a uniform look to the exterior of the building. Okay, so I think I explained that one. Another component we felt was appropriate. The letters on the front of the building, if you've ever noticed, they're plastic, not exactly of this quality that a government facility typically wants, and they're lit with a gimbal light off the soffit. We're proposing putting in basic cast aluminum letters that are backlit to give the building a little more presence and easy identification as the police station. So that value's around, call it $8,000 rounded up. Again, easy alternate to include. Another one is the monument sign in the front of the building. You know where the flag poles are now. This is basically in that same location. There's already some lighting out there for the flag pole, so we could tap into that electrical circuit to then build a lit lawn sign, basically, that is located, you see the drawing to the right, kind of right where the flag poles are. Really give the building some presence and identification feature at the main intersection of that area of the site. Again, that's about $35,000 to do that monument sign.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is the sign, is that wood or is that composite?
Do we end up with the wood to match the
It is wood to match the columns, but again, that wood could be a simulated composite too.
For what it's worth, I like option 2 for the signage. It seems to stand out a little bit more than the top option.
Oh, there are two options there. I didn't realize that. Yeah, there's a little more contrast, I agree. Yeah. So another alternate is for the lobby, small lobby, that the base is LVT, which is a luxury vinyl tile that we've seen in a lot of different commercial buildings nowadays. And the alternate, which we would bid again to if things look good, we do a terrazzo porcelain tile. The image is the Yorkville Police Department, police station, and City Hall of what that. It looks like a terrazzo look, a much more durable, lifetime material. And then another one is for the compact storage. We thought that potentially there would be some reuse for some of the storage that exists at the Public Works, but it didn't seem conducive for that. This would be for records, right, Chief? Believe that's a feature. Many police departments use these types of compact storage for records. This because they can fit a lot of records in a very compact space. And this would be a feature that right now is not in the budget, but we could bid it as a cost. And there's a supplier that provides us that would provide that cost as a standalone cost that we could then entertain with the board at a later date. And then,
would this require any additional work on the floor?
so we would, this is an existing slab on grade, so they would
Yeah.
actually pour, they build it up a little bit and
Yeah,
pour a
they
little
do,
more
yeah.
extra. Yeah. But nothing other than that, that would be it. Luckily, it's slab on grade, so
Right, so you don't have.
those supported floors, because we gotta reinforce those. We had to do that in Yorkville. The next is the, excuse me, an epoxy urethane coating alternate for the evidence, the evidence garage. Evidence garage and evidence storage. This is actually a picture of a recent facility we did for Kendall County. Their lower level storage for the voting operations. It's a nice, better than just sealed concrete to give you a dust-free environment for those and really have the slab just have a longer lifespan to it.
You say urethane in the comments, but it is an epoxy.
Yeah,
or
it's like
something.
an epoxy.
Yeah.
And then another feature that we felt would be an appropriate alternate to bid. We have, I said, bullet resistant glazing at the main secure vestibule area and then at the transaction areas. However, there are first floor windows on the entire building. I think there are around 15 of those scattered around the main level there. And a lot of times when we do police station projects, we will put a ballistic film on those windows to provide another layer of security for the occupants of the facility. We recently had a demonstration of that up in Grays Lake. And we're going to be doing this at the Lake Forest Police Station we're working on right now too. So it's a great product, and for additional cost of around $16,000, I believe that's an appropriate upgrade for the project. Is that it?
So,
So that is it. I appreciate your time today. Happy to address any questions you may have.
I had a couple of quick questions.
Sure.
You'll be providing a group spec, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know already. Do you know of any items that you can kind of think of that are long lead time items that we need to be aware of?
We did check the precast concrete slabs that are going to be on the garage. We did look at that. They are within the time frame we have put in the schedule to get them on site. Other than that, most of the other stuff is in typical
Okay.
availability. Yeah. Can fit within the 12-month time frame.
That's what I was.
No new generators or switch gear.
Yeah.
That takes 2 years to get.
That was it?
Okay.
Windows, were you specifying any particular windows to replace?
So these would be commercial aluminum, right?
The Peloton window.
Oh, Pelton, okay, aluminum clad.
Yeah.
Aluminum clad, yeah.
The Lindsay window's been a good window. I don't know if they make a commercial window that's made on the west side of Aurora. Something local to work with.
We'll take a look at it.
Yeah, the price.
Yes.
I had a question on all the different roof elevation changes. Is there something that's going to be scheduled into the bid documentation to make sure that those areas which could be weak points for like water and snow and ice infiltration are dealt with? I'm just looking at it from a long-term maintenance issue.
No, absolutely. We put an ice water shield in any valleys that are built into the project. One of the things that you may not have picked up on, but the evidence garage in Sallyport, we actually had to lift that section of the roof up in order to get an overhead door adequately sized to get the vehicles in there. So that changed the design a little bit from the earlier renderings you may have saw. That was a requirement to meet that added height. So it did create a couple of new valleys we will deal with through ice and water shields.
And so also, is there a reason why the IT and the storage was put together?
IT is in this closet here, right?
Yeah, so it's a combination. So a lot of the equipment is moving towards cloud-based. We still need to have servers. We still need to have camera equipment. So
That's not the question. The question is why is the storage with it?
It's two separate,
it's
I mean, it's these two rooms,
yeah,
right?
it's
They
two
exist.
separate rooms.
Okay, well, the way it's got right here is it says storage/IT.
Yes.
I think it serves that dual purpose.
And
Correct.
that's why I'm questioning it, because it shouldn't be, because in my day job, I write this up and it's recommendations not to do this.
We'll make sure it gets cleaned out. for the
It's
storage.
not per the NFPA codes for IT areas, is we don't put storage in. If we're designing it, I'd rather design it from the standpoint of they don't have to worry about this later on.
They have a lot more storage than we ever did now.
Oh,
So
yes, I know.
we'll change that label on the drawing and call it IT. And not let chief put any storage in there. Thank you for that, pointing that.
I'm sorry.
correct. There is a power operator on the main doors. So those two
All
units
right.
will be push a button and they open.
Our toilet rooms all meet.
Everything meets ADA code.
All right.
You will have almost a new building when it's all
Yeah.
said and done.
On the budget sheet here, your estimate,
Yep.
all the numbers, either there's numbers missing because they're not on here, or they're numbered wrong.
Those are divisions. It's called a CSI divisions that don't follow the sequence.
Okay, and then your potential value added, they don't line up either with the drawing on all of them. So
Well, they should, so. You know one that doesn't. We'll look at it. I'm pretty sure they should. Right, Lauren, you got this? We'll look at it, but they were.
I mean, there's nothing missing, is there?
No.
Okay.
Are you talking the slide, the number on the slide?
Well, right, because it's 1, 2, 3, 5, 7. 8, 9.
Okay, we missed number 4. Yeah, there was a number 4 that we got rid of.
No 4, no 6.
There's some things we weren't gonna bring in front of the board. There were those for us as the committee, or like, we don't need that, you know, so.
Like the storm shelter, for example, was moved from a potential value add to a necessary cost as part of the budget, just because we didn't want to, whether it be a board, a potential meeting or for having juveniles or whatever, we thought it was best to have the storm shelter ready to go, so that one was moved up.
We didn't change, update the number.
The numbers will be fixed.
Okay. So then it did get included.
It did.
Okay.
Good catch.
How's the budget numbers compared to last time you were here? Stayed pretty close to,
Ups and downs, mostly, and we absorbed some contingency into this, now that the signs we find. We added a fair amount of maintenance components to this too, and of course the storm shelter, and essential facility upgrades. We roll those into the budget now, these sites, instead of keeping them below the line.
oh,
Just, it was the right thing to do. Meeting code today, it's felt appropriate to move them up. No, disguise it. Make sense?
yeah.
Okay.
Do you mind sending out the estimates from, when was that?
January.
January,
Yeah, so, yeah, the biggest change was the additions for the structure upgrade, the storm shelter, all the ones, we tried to keep them separate. Their added scope and recommendation, 1 through 4. The vinyl composite siding, the new soffit, those are relatively low numbers, but the big add for the storm shelter and the essential facility were a little over 200,000 combined there. But we will, Chief and I will send that out. One or two of us will send it here in the next couple of days.
So sorry, just so everyone's aware too, that one of the discoveries they did during their extensive search of this facility and looking at everything is where the walls and the roofs are connected together, it's missing pieces. It's missing a steel plate connector, which means that there is a strong wind, there is a tornado, this roof is gone. We've been very fortunate, so that's one of the reasons why you got this $8,000-ish addition. So they got to touch all the walls when they do the roofs to make it right. So it was, it's just, I'm glad they saw it. They were up in the air for quite a while and realized, we've been very fortunate with the tornado that passed through a couple of years ago on this one end and took out some trees, but it didn't, to my knowledge, it didn't lift the roof or set it right back down where it belongs. So we got lucky. So
With the big overhang, it's, yeah, you're
You're
very
lucky. Yeah.
wood trusses.
These are wood, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And is it basically a fletch plate going?
Right, yeah, so what you would see in a standard wood connection.
Can you come up to the mic, Lauren, please?
Sorry. Yes, so it's just like what you see in standard residential construction where they tie two of the wood members together.
It was supposed to design and have a steel plate, but it didn't get installed.
Yes, that's correct. So the existing drawings do show that there was a steel plate that was supposed to be installed, and it didn't appear that that was actually what was constructed.
Fixing something from 20 years ago.
we're just looking for, if it's okay with moving forward with the project, if there's consensus for the committee as well as the architects to continue on working on this and getting a bid ready. Again, it does not commit the board to spending construction costs, because you can at a later time tell us, after reviewing the bids, a different story. However, their time and the materials to get the project ready for bid is still obviously an expenditure that we have budgeted. This is anticipated to span over 2 fiscal years. So money is available for the architectural services this year to get it to continue to move it forward. But if you feel comfortable enough, just provide direction to staff that will take and continue the architectural working committee here with the village as well as with supporting Clark to come back at a later time after bids are ready or after they're submitted and come back with the numbers. And then that's the board's decision at that point again to say yes or no to the project and or specific parts of the project.
I do have one other question about the cost section in the budget. I don't know if you want to address that, Scott, or Matt, exactly what you're trying to say.
Oh, in the memo?
Yeah.
In Chief's memo?
Yeah.
Which questions on it? Sorry.
So there's
How it fits in with the budget that we currently have.
yes. So I'm going to give I'll let Matt give his presentation on that because I think it's more important that the capital funds are available when it's cash, but I'll let Matt.
Yeah, so right now we do have about 5.6 set aside for the project as it sits today in the capital fund. That does not include, which I will mention, the parking lot was added into this year's budget for milling in our road program. So that's outside of it. So right now we have 5.7 budgeted for this project. So depending on how it comes back with contingencies and everything, we will have the funding by the time this is done with cash with no need for any debt on it. And it just depends on, obviously, once we see bids and then we can kind of determine those additional items. Right now, off the top of my head, if we're going to do it, I think we should do them based on the board's decisions, especially knowing one of the larger add-ons was already budgeted. There would be an additional cost to do the back that we didn't, but that can also be done in the road fund too, that we do have funds for to do both of those as part of the road project. So I think those 2 large expenses of add-ons are already accounted for in our road fund rather than our capital fund that we're transferring. So we have about 5.6 that's currently plugged into our capital. Obviously this is almost 6, but depending on what we see at bid, we will still be able to fund this project with cash.
Okay, so you're comfortable the way it fits in your budget on how you set this up?
Yes.
Okay. Then I'm fine.
What do you see new construction? I mean, this is running $6 million with remodeling this new building, $600 a square foot, $575 a square foot. What?
For new police stations?
Yeah.
They're pushing 700 a foot, easily 750. It depends on other components and how they're set up, but yeah, it can be as high as 800 if you have other components in there.
So we are saving some money.
You're definitely saving money.
Okay.
And renovation work, it gets a little messier, as you can imagine too. So there's not a big amount of delta between new construction and renovation.
Right, but then you would have site demolition.
No regard. I totally agree with you. Interior renovations.
Right, so
messy.
not just
Right, yeah,
dollar.
there's a lot more.
Yeah.
Right.
To just see what.
No, I agree. That's a good point.
$700 to $800.
Yeah, easily.
The square footage was roughly 10,000 square feet.
10,425 or something like that, yeah.
$12 million basically, by
Easily,
saving
yeah.
$100 square foot.
Yeah, there's a number of communities in the suburbs that are looking at new Wilmette, for one, is, they're looking at 55, 60 million for their new police facility. And we're doing one for Lake Forest, which is a renovation and some additions to them, but there's 25 million for that. Yorkville's, I don't know if you guys have been out there, so they, with an old 3-story spec office building that we converted to city hall and police. And that was, $10 million, $11 million for that without any holding or salary board, because everything gets shipped off to the county jail. So the more expensive parts of that building, they didn't have to deal with, because lockups and all those things are expensive.
Yeah, they probably would have had to add it on like Ridgewood.
No doubt, yes.
I know Auburn was looking at a new police station, I believe, that was pushing $9 million.
Yeah, I think it's gonna go to 10.
Yeah. Okay.
So like I said, I'm comfortable moving forward. I know you're looking for consensus, so.
And I do like the additions, at storm shelter, replace all vinyl siding with composite siding for the price. It seems reasonable to get that done. A new soffit replacement makes sense.
I'm comfortable with moving forward.
Do you want to vote on?
There's no final action or any major decision today. It would
So
be.
if everyone just expresses that they are interested in moving forward, okay. Does anyone object? Okay, I hear none, so I believe there is consensus that the board is interested in moving forward.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Fantastic, thank you for your input. We'll be back in August.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Email this to us.
Yep, we'll email that and the previous one as well. We'll
Yeah.
get both on together.
I kept it for a few weeks, that old one.
Up next, we have some appointments. And I have a motion to consider the reappointment of Board of Police Commissioners Michael Bryan. This was supported by the chief, and I defer to his opinion on that.
I make that motion?
We have a motion from trustee Special. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And we have a second from trustee Roscoe. Can we have a roll call to vote on the reappointment of the Board of Commissioners, Michael Bryan?
Trustee Special?
Yes.
Trustee Rostow?
Yes.
Trustee Lundy,
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee London?
Aye.
The ayes have it, and Michael Bryan has been reappointed to the Board of Police Commissioners. The next appointment is the reappointment of Planning Commissioner Becky Sabo. She's an experienced planning commissioner, and she also has experience with inspections. Do we have a motion to consider her reappointment?
She really said yes.
She's
Go
happy to
ahead.
do it.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion that has been seconded by trustee Michaels and seconded by trustee Special. Can we have a vote to reappoint planning commissioner Becky Sabo? Roll call, Tracy, please.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee London?
Aye.
Trustee Lundy,
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Rostow?
Aye.
The ayes have it, and Becky Sabo has been reappointed to the planning commission. The next appointment is to appoint Becky Sabo as planning commissioner chairman.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion from trustee Special and a second from trustee Michaels. Can we have a roll call for the vote, Tracy?
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Lundy,
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee London,
Aye.
Trustee Rostow?
Aye.
And Becky Sabo, the ayes have it, and Becky Sabo has been appointed as the planning commissioner chairman. The next appointment is planning commission to consider his appointment?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion from trustee Special and a second from trustee Michaels. Can we have a vote to appoint planning commissioner, vice chairman John Barrett?
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee London?
Aye.
Trustee Raska?
Aye.
The ayes have it, and John Barrett has been appointed as planning commission vice chairman.
I think we missed
We
man.
missed that.
I'm so sorry, I was going off of my older one, so I have that. I think it was just.
Oh, just the order, I'm sorry.
Yeah. The next appointment is a reappointment of police pension board, Matt Anastasia. Can we have a motion to consider his reappointment?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from trustee Special and a second from trustee Bonnie. Can we have a roll call, please, to reappoint police pension board, reappoint Matt Anastasia to the police pension board?
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee London?
Aye.
Trustee Raska?
Aye.
The ayes have it, and Matt Anastasia is reappointed to the police pension board.
So can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
This list here has Larry on it, if I retire and Tony's on here. He's not on here anymore, right? The plan commission?
Correct. Larry has resigned, and Tony has also resigned.
Right, I just thought it
So
was.
there are two open appointments, two open positions. We posted for 2 weeks for applications. I don't know exactly how many applications we have at this time, and it closes tomorrow. And then after that, 2 will be chosen and then brought to the board for approval. Up next is the airport report.
No report.
Alright. Just to confirm, we have no public comments on scheduled action items today? Oh, we did.
We have one person, I'm not sure if it was for scheduled for items or anything, but he didn't note it.
Okay. Up next, public comments on scheduled action items. We have Dale Esling.
That would be for later.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to make public comments? Hearing none, public comments is closed at this time. Up next, we have the consent agenda. Can I have a motion and a second? Let me read what we have here. We have, up on the consent agenda today, we have the approval of the April 23rd, 2025 special board meeting minutes, approval of the May 6th, 2025 board meeting minutes, approval of the vouchers, approval of the April 2025 treasurer's report, and a resolution authorizing an agreement with HR Green for bridge inspections. Are there any objections to approving the consent agenda? Can I have,
Could I make a request to remove item D from the consent agenda, approval of the April 2025 treasurer's report?
we have a request to remove item D, the April 2025 treasurer's report. Do I have a second?
There's no second and no discussion if it's asked to be removed.
Scratch that. No second and no discussion. So item D has been removed. Any other objections to approving the consent agenda? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion from trustee Michaels. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from trustee Special. We'll have a vote at this time to approve the consent agenda.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee London?
Aye.
Trustee Raska?
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the consent agenda is approved with the exception of item B. Our next item, general business.
Excuse me. Could I make a motion to approve the April 2025 treasurer's report? And then if I can get a second, so we could have discussion.
I'll second that.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second to approve the April 2025 treasurer's report. We're open for discussion.
Thank you. It just looked like we had pretty good surplus based on the end of the year numbers, and I didn't know if staff had a plan to bring that back. You know, one of the thoughts I had is to maybe postpone the 1% increase in water rates or reduce the transportation fee that's on a water bill by an amount to keep the monthly rates the same for our residents. But it looked like there was a significant surplus that we could be using in this fiscal year to offset some expenses or maybe make some adjustments to our budget.
I have a question on that. Matt, there was a road project, and I think it was in 2026, that was going to use bonds. So if we did not reduce the road maintenance fee on the water bill, would that lower the future use of bonds, or would it have no effect?
So the road fee would not have effect for bonding. We weren't going to bond on the road program, it was for a water program.
For the water main?
Yes, so that one would not affect that on the road fee. The road fee will strictly go to the road program, so it would reduce the amount that we can do for the road program. Just to address Trustee Michaels on the surplus, I believe you're talking about general fund, correct?
Yeah.
So general fund is completely separate from water rates or the road fee, so those revenues do not go into the general fund. We can use transfers over if we wanted to, we would have to in the budget if we're going to use reserves to fund the budget.
That's what I
Because you would
was-
have to approve a deficit budget with reserves.
Okay.
What I will also say is, yes, it says it's April 2025, but we still have 2 months of invoicing for audit purposes because we are on a modified accrual basis. So it's not based on cash basis as of the end of April 30th. So while it does show a surplus, that will decrease over the next 2 months because I would say a majority of all of May's APs are being reposted for April 30th because of the dates of invoices and items. Now, if when we come back from the audit and there is a surplus, the board has that ability to then amend the budget if they would like to and use those surplus funds that we have at that time. Is what I would recommend is bringing it back, and that usually comes back to the board in August. We are still on track with the audit. I had prelims, and fieldwork are still scheduled for July. But it will decrease this surplus, while I do believe we will still have a surplus above that. I do agree with you. But as we've just discussed as well with the police department, I think any funds that we've used in the last 3 to 4 years have been used for that. Costs are continuing to go up. Open to whatever the board would like to do, but that number, it shows about a 500,000, and that will shrink strictly because revenues are not really being posted backwards. It's more the invoices still coming in from the end of the year. So open for discussion on if the board feels like they would like to do that, kind of separating the revenues out from the general fund versus those other funds that we use.
I personally think we should keep the road rates the same. I think we should, with the police department, we don't know exactly what's going to come in cost of the crew. I think we should be conservative and leave it on. It's already there, so I personally think we should leave it.
Trustee London, or
I was going to say, I kind of like leaving it as it is right now because I'm concerned about expenses going up. And if anything, I would defer to Matt and his advice of wait until August at least, and until we have that audit done.
Yeah. And back then, again, it doesn't have, the fees don't have to be approved once a year. If we do come back and we do want to change that, we can always bring that back to change at that time. But generally what we've received is draft audit numbers in August to be presented to the board to show what the previous year did.
Yeah, I would agree as long as we can put it on as a discussion item in August.
Yeah, I was going to say I prefer Matt's
Yeah.
approach for now.
The 500,000 is better than the 58,000 that was projected at one time, so it's
Right.
a significant difference.
Right.
Yeah, and
We just added some police stuff to
I did look at that, Sean, I do. when we kind of get to the end of the year, I looked at what was different in the projections. We conservatively underestimated on revenues, so revenues are higher, which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
And also expenses are lower.
Yeah.
So,
Quite a bit.
it's a good reason to have the surplus. I
Yeah.
would say it's not that it's the right ways the
Yeah,
funds are going.
right. Yeah.
But yes, I agree, and I think we've been really focused on getting this police department moving and going forward. And again, I would hate to not do things because we don't have the money and do those little things that will long term do what we need on the police department. So I would feel comfortable bringing it back in August,
That's fine.
August, September, to discuss fees along with the surplus, all that kind of
Okay.
meetings.
Thank you. Okay.
We'll add that as a discussion item in August. Are there any other discussion items for the April 2025 Treasurer's Report minutes? Hearing none, can we have a motion to approve the April 2025 Treasurer's Report?
I think you had your motion in your second, just need a roll call.
Right.
Roll call, Tracy, please, thank you.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee London?
Aye.
Trustee Roscoe?
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the April 2025 Treasurer's Report minutes are consent agenda is approved. Our item of general business tonight is a resolution approving the creation of the beautification and gardening committee for the village of Sugar Grove. Can I have a motion to consider?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion from trustee Special and a second from trustee London. We'll open this item for discussion. I will start as I'm looking to chair this one. So the beautification and gardening committee, what we're looking to do, the beautification committee previously existed, I believe, with a $10,000 budget, which we are not asking for. We're looking for some of those same volunteers, and they're going to come back, and then we have a whole new group of volunteers looking to work with them. One of the big projects is the Monarch Project. What we like to do is encourage pollinator gardens throughout the village, and then we'll have some sort of like garden marker that each participating garden can have. We are also working with the Chamber of Commerce, and we've gotten a lot of interest. There's one realtor that wants to sponsor a pollinator garden, and then I think in Geneva they donated lanterns that we can use. So at the current time, we don't even need a budget. We're just asking for approval to create the beautification and gardening committee. Is there any other discussion?
Is there money in the budget already for this? You said you asked for money, but.
So there was $10,000. It was moved to Public Works, I believe, Brad. So, for example, if we needed seeds or something like that, it was $200 for an acre or something like that. We can always ask Brad, do you have the funds? Because it does fall under the Public Works umbrella as well. And then, you know, if the funds are there, we can always do it that way instead of having just a blanket $10,000.
Makes sense.
Also, Scott from the Park District is interested in participating as well, and he's going to see what we can do with pollinator gardens and the Monarch Project with the Park District as well. If there is no other discussion, can we have a roll call, please, Tracy, to approve the creation of the beautification and gardening committee for the village of Sugar Grove?
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee London?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Roscoe?
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the beautification and gardening committee will be created. Thank you. We have no other items of general business today. We have public comments. Dale, did you wish to public comment at this time or later?
Yes.
Okay.
My name is Dale Essling. I live up in Blackberry Township. And I see in your discussion items, letter G is the Merrill and Wheeler Road Resurfacing Act. I'm just curious, J&S moved equipment in to dig test holes to do soil samples on Merrill Road on that property there. They moved 3 scraper pans in, they moved 2 quad track tractors in, and moved a 470 excavator, 450 excavator in. These things weigh gross weight between 85,000 on the low end and about 180,000 for the big excavator. I'm just curious if anybody got any overweight permits to run on these roads. These are all, the overweight permits are not covered in the agreement with Crown. They're not a building permit, it's a permit to use the road. I'm just curious if anybody got permits to move these machines in or out. They're all off that property now, they've all been moved in and back out again. Just curious if the permits weren't obtained, it's kind of indicative of the character that we're dealing with Crown, that they just do what they want to do. So maybe somebody could look into that. Thank you.
We do have an answer to that. Did you want to speak to the chief officer about this?
Sure, be happy to. So overweight permits have been issued to the company that's been moving the vehicles onto that property as well as off of the property, so they're in compliance. The company is a very well-renowned business that works with many municipalities, and they know the repercussions from law enforcement if they don't pull a permit. The fines could be anywhere from $1,500 all the way up to $12,000 to $18,000 for the heavier ones. So, and there's not much recourse on those once those are issued. So, they're very cognizant, and they do put the permit in. So yes, that permits have been received through the police department and approved.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll close public discussion public comments at this time. The next item for discussion, before I start listing the discussion items, item E, 2 of the trustees asked if we could have an official parliamentarian. For that reason, I'm going to try to stick to the parliamentary rules. So I know in the past we haven't asked for a motion in a second, but if everybody is agreeable, before I list the discussion items, I'll ask for a quick motion in a second. If we have none, we won't discuss it. All right. So item A, can I have a motion please to discuss section 4-4-1 of the village code and native plant gardens?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion from trustee Lundy. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And we have a second from trustee Roscoff, and the item is open for discussion. I'll just mention one quick thing. This came up as for 2 reasons. One was as part of the Monarch project. Some of our village code currently doesn't allow native plants. Some of the pollinator plants have names like milkweed, butterfly weed, and can be considered weeds. So we needed a little clarification in that area. And then there was also an issue with a resident. She thought she had to pull the native plants out of her garden. So that's how this made it to the agenda. And Danny, if you'd like to.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So you have before you a proposed text amendment that adds native plants specifically to section 441 of the village code, height of weeds and nuisance declared. This is the section that we use when we are citing residents for their grass and their weeds being longer than 8 inches. As President Stillwell mentioned, we had an issue with a resident misunderstanding the letter, the courtesy notice they received. So this is just cleaning up this section to add native plants to the list of plants that are excluded from that maximum 8-inch height. Currently, when we're enforcing, we don't take enforcement action on native plants. They're excluded. We never go after residents. So it's not really changing anything that we're currently doing. It's just clarifying in our code that native plants are excluded.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion?
Maybe naive, but what's a native plant? How do you distinguish that from a weed? Because some native plant view as a weed to me.
There's a list of noxious weeds in Illinois, things that are invasive, and then there are also lists of native pollinator plants.
Yeah, so when I was doing research on this, there was lots of different directions we could go. This was kind of the cleanest direction to go because our code enforcement officer is not trained in plants and what are identifying them. So basically when she's going out, she's looking for long grass and like dandelions and obvious weeds.
Does your pollinator garden monarch butterfly program fit in this definition?
It does, yes. The pollinator plants. So if we were encouraging monarch and pollinator gardens, and then they were also considered weeds, it would be an issue.
I still think it'd be a little confusing to somebody, because I don't understand the difference until now. I think there should be some way it should be distinguished on the website or somewhere. Because you said someone was confused about the letter we got. I'd be confused too if I'd say what's a native plant. You know, that's the issue. I think there's still confusion I would think of. It's got to, somewhere's got to be discussed. Or I'm not sure what that's the best way to.
I think our code enforcement is only ticketing for long grass and dandelions. The actual letter they received was about long grass. So I think what Danny's saying is that our code enforcement is not going to, go out.
But if I may, I think it's a good opportunity to partner with our forest preserve or potentially park district to get some educational materials and put them on our website and our different channels, Facebook and Instagram. So I think it's a really good opportunity to educate both our staff about what it is and isn't, and as well as educate the community. So I think it's a wonderful idea, and that's the approach we'll take, and it's also a way to work with the Forest Preserve. I'm sure they've got some great people on staff that can teach us a lot about that.
And a unique program in our area is Mary Oschenschlager. And she's in Bliss Woods. She's having invasive species cleanup, and she's the most knowledgeable person around for that kind of information. And she does post it on Facebook and other things. So it's just a thought.
We'll definitely connect with Mary. I appreciate it.
I think the whole thing about this is trying to keep people from letting their lawns grow 2 feet tall. But the difference between weeds and flowers is whether or not you like them. I mean, a dandelion for some people is a weed, for other people it's a flower. And it's an edible and all these other things. So trying to figure it out and have our code compliance people, sort that out is potentially problematic. And it's like, if there's a problem and a neighbor complains, then we have to handle it on a case-by-case basis.
But I think as Scott said, there's education out there. Some of the websites that alleviate a lot of the issues.
Is there any other discussion?
I agree that there needs to be some kind of information out there for people, so that they'll know what is native, what's not. It's going to put a huge burden on the code official if they don't have some kind of direction.
I think as part of the gardening committee too, because we do have some volunteers that are professional gardeners, we could also have them come up with a list of pollinator plants, and then also maybe a list of noxious weeds. But
There's probably a lot of that on the internet.
yeah,
That we could recognize from an official source like Morton Arboretum or something.
I also say talk to Mario too.
any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, discussion item 4, the native plant gardens is closed. And we will move on to the plan for economic development department. Is there a motion to discuss?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion from trustee Lindy and a second from trustee Michaels, and the discussion for the economic development department is open.
It is.
Yes.
Yep, thank you. So, as you know, Michael Costa retired as of May 2nd, 2025. At the April 15th Village Board meeting, the Village Board updated and passed the budget, not including a salary for Economic Development Director in the current budget for this year, so staff has not recommended moving that forward and starting the hiring process. Thought it was prudent to have a discussion tonight with the Village Board about the future of the Economic Development Department. There are, in my opinion, 2 different ways to move forward. One would be the proactive approach, which is what we had been doing since 2022 when Michael was hired. That involves having a full-time economic development director out seeking different opportunities and bringing them potentially to the village. There's of course a cost associated with that, and in that approach, the economic development assistance role would remain as is with the current job description. The second option is what we did prior to 2022, which is a little bit more of a reactive approach where some of the work is spread between myself, the village administrator, and the community development director, and other members of staff, where we would take leads and things as they came into the village. We would still do some proactive work, but obviously a full-time director can do a lot more and be assigned to that task. And that of course, that one comes with less cost, but also then is a less aggressive approach from the village perspective. So just looking for some discussion and opinions from the board on what to do. If the reactive approach seems to be the consensus to move forward, then we would look to retask the position for the economic development assistant. There would still be some economic development work to be done, but then there would be other items that we could potentially bring forward, both assisting administration and assisting the community development department. We will have quite a bit more building permits between Lennar and our other projects that we've had come through that'll be coming through and covering for people now to the office and learning those positions as well. So there's plenty of opportunities for potential for help out to happen there. But really like to get feedback from the board of trustees on what approach you'd like us to take in the future.
I'd like to say something about this. So I used to live in Montgomery years ago, and I know at the time they shared a director with like 3 different communities. That was just for new business only. I don't know if that's still being done in the community. Is that something that's still being done? I mean, that's a possibility, just for getting new business.
So I believe Montgomery had what was the MEDC, which was their economic development corporation, and they had an employee at the MEDC. They have since stopped. I don't know the effect that she's no longer with the MEDC. The person that I worked with when I was at Kendall County, I had a relationship with the employee there. I think they might have brought it and started doing some of the work in-house. I'd have to verify that with Montgomery. But I know that was the operation they did. I believe there are some village or some cities in LaSalle County, some municipalities that work together. I know that there's a county approach down south in Champaign, it's either Champaign or Sangamon County, where a lot of the economic development is done at the county level, and the municipalities kind of pitch in and do it. There's some cities like Yorkville. Yorkville has a consultant that does it. They don't have an in-house employee. So there are many, many different ways to approach economic development.
Because my view is, I think both approaches are just somewhere in the middle. I think a full-time person, the salary was paying them was too much, but a reactive approach, we're going to lose business. I think there should be somewhere in the middle.
I agree. I think looking for a part-time EDC director would be a good way to go. They have support staff with Becky in-house. And I'd like to see what type of talent is out there and at least have a part-time.
Because you're partnering with other talent and see if they want
Sure.
one, and there's other options out there.
I agree with that as well. I think what we were spending, I know Michael is very qualified. I think what we were spending was out of, it was above what much larger communities were using. So I'd like to see if we can get the cost down, but still have somebody that helps with some of the residents' goals. They'd like more things to do and things like that.
We've tried the reactive approach, and it didn't go very well. It seemed like it overburdened the community development director before. And I think if we're going to be getting development, we want to be able to choose which development and not just sit back and take whatever comes our way. So we do need to take, I think, a little bit of a proactive approach.
Yeah, the village has had part-time and full-time EDC directors in 2022. Previous directors stepped down, and it was in the middle of COVID, so there was a decision not to move forward.
I agree as well with you were saying we should be proactive. I was mentioning to Scott, I think if we do find somebody, we can try to find somebody with specific experience in the things that we want, like things to do, hotels, medical, specialized experience that might be an asset to us versus something like the retail chains and things like that.
Yeah.
Is there any other discussion?
I'm good with looking for somebody either part-time or full-time.
So, it's not hearing from the room, what I'll do is I'll look into some neighboring municipalities about the potential of sharing the position. I think part-time staff might be difficult to get if it's someone in the career, just from my experience in trying to hire economic development people. There's not a lot of people that do that. It's a pretty niche thing. However, maybe getting a consultant might fit the part-time role where it's somebody who's maybe doing other things and then serving in that role partly for us. I'll look at that as an option. I'll look at potentially sharing, like maybe I'll reach out to Elburn and some of our neighboring communities that may also want to do more of this, but don't want to pull out the full amount for a frontline director, and see what options and see what information I can bring back to the board. It sounds like I've got some direction. I appreciate that.
All right, if there is no other discussion, we will close the discussion for the Economic Development Department at this time. Our next discussion item is the agreements with the corn boil. Can I have a motion to consider?
As stated.
We have a motion from trustee Bonnie. Do we have a second?
Second?
And we have a second from trustee Special. We will discuss the agreement with the corn boil.
Thank you. So last year was the first year we had an agreement with the corn boil. This agreement is at no cost to the corn boil. It continues what it did is codified what the corn boil's responsibilities are, what the responsibilities are for the village. We will continue providing public works support, police support, and outlining many different things and the insurance level requirements, the fact that they need to get their special event permit into us, and different options. Staff is recommending that we bring a similar agreement forward after discussion not tonight from the village board. There was a request from Chris at the corn boil about having additional 4x8 signs at 47 in Galena and 47 in Cross. It could be beneficial to the corn boil if we include in the agreement with them that they're allowed to have those signs. I did talk a little bit to Danny about it, and if it is 47 facing though, I think Chief, if you would agree, it should be directional. So we'll work with them on that to make sure that we don't run afoul of IDOT with any signs that might go up. But that is something that would be, a sign section would be added, and then otherwise, unless there's any changes from the village board, the dates would be updated in the agreement, and then we would bring it back for approval at the next meeting. Happy to answer questions.
So you said, other than that sign, this is identical to last year?
That would be.
There's no change other than those signs?
That's what they've asked for. That maybe it's some additional barriers if Brad can come up with it, but I believe that the corn boil is still working with us for security and access and how they're going to design that. So that may change a little bit, but I don't think we spell out in detail to the number of barriers we can supply anyway. It's just that we do supply those to help and to traffic.
So does that cost the same as last year?
Last year was the $22,545. It will be higher. We calculate that. You can go into detail about how it's calculated, but using our staff and overtime, just with increases in salaries that will of course go up.
Yeah, I can, so every year after every special event, Chief will provide me what it costs for staff to do it on overtime, because if we're on regular time, there's no additional cost to the village. Brad also provides his staff and any type of vehicle or barricade that costs the village money. So we do that every year. So obviously, naturally, overtime is going to go up as salaries. Those are the main increases. But it is only based on overtime, not regular time for people going. So it's either overtime or part-time officers that we're adding to the force at that time.
From 23 to 24, it went up about $2,000 our contribution.
It might not need to go in the agreement, but are we still working with grants strategies, and we use her services or their services to help promote the corn boil?
That agreement expired on April 30th, but we can certainly and do promote the corn boil on all of our social channels, and that's something that Tracy and Maddie and then now Becky helping out a little bit with our socials, and we'll definitely get things out. We communicate with them pretty well, as well as with Grooven and the fire department on their open house. We try to share out whenever there's a community event to get that going.
I'm good with you.
Is there any other discussion?
No? Okay, here.
Hearing none, we will close the discussion of the agreement with the corn boil at this time. Our next item for discussion is the social media policy. Do we have a motion to discuss?
Make that motion.
We have a first from trustee Michaels. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second from trustee Lundy, and we will now discuss the social media policy.
Thank you. There was quite a bit of discussion at the last meeting about social media policy. It was asked to be brought back for discussion again tonight. In my board report, I included some information about the current communication channels to the public that the village has. I also noted our submit a request portal that we have. I included Meta, the owner of Facebook, their monitoring and content moderation. It is extremely lengthy, so I linked back to their page and how they do it. I also included an update that Facebook put out in 2025 talking about how they're going to update their fact checking and go to more of a community notes style that X uses. So those are some newer additions to the memo. I also wanted to back up a little bit on more of a broader, that would perhaps help the discussion and go into what is the goal of social media in the village. When it was changed by the previous board, I believe the goal was that it was to be a closed forum that disseminated information, not for the purposes of discussion. It was that was the idea behind their discussion behind the change when it was made. So is the goal really to disseminate it, or is it the goal to have a post and then allow for discussions to happen? Again, I defer to council that's here as well, but I would always recommend too much discussion from especially elected officials on our channels because of the potential for an Open Meetings Act violation. It's one of the things we definitely cannot be doing. So it does change, on a normal Facebook page or a normal Facebook group that's not government related, anybody that's involved in the organization and anybody can be part of the comments without any real repercussions. But for us, it needs to be tightly regulated, and also from a staff perspective, we need to make sure we're treating everybody the same. So we have refrained from commenting because we don't want to comment on some and not comment on others and treat anybody differently. So that's where we, as a government entity, are different than a lot of different Facebook pages are. So I thought that trying to get at what the goal of it is would be a good part to help maybe aid in the discussion. So staff's getting happy to move forward with it when the boards come to consensus.
I stand firm with the recommendation for Irma. I just think that it's, I agree with what they say. I understand what they're saying. And like I said before, Irma is a risk management agency, so we're more or less self-insured. So it's a concern of mine about any potential liability. I do want to compliment you though, because you do have a Facebook page and you do react. So I mean, I think there are avenues for people to comment. So that's my opinion.
I looked at 5 surrounding communities. Trustee Bonnie had brought up that it would possibly require someone full-time to monitor Facebook. So I looked at, I think it was Oswego, Romeoville, a total of 5, and they all did have open comments. I don't believe they have a full-time person, but I do understand maybe they are not self-insured. But the residents have asked to be able to express their opinions on different topics. So I support them being open, but I defer to the trustees' opinions as well.
When this came up before, we had a good discussion on it. The previous board unanimously voted to close them because of the liability risk and because of Irma's recommendation. And if you go back and look at some of the comments that are made, some of them are not comments you really want on your village board. I get worried since we don't have someone 24/7 monitoring it, and the concern that it's not the same person, so you don't have the consistency of what someone judges, because it comes down to a judgment call. I get really concerned about, in this litigious society, that somebody's gonna get upset and they're gonna file a lawsuit against us. I think that we do need to have some way that the public, our residents, can contact us more readily. And we had discussed about somehow on our Facebook page or on our website, putting here's how you can contact, real easy button. You can send all the trustees what you think about it. Or if we post something, just disseminating information, hey, here's something that's going, new development that's looking at it, or we post something on there and then we say, contact your elected official here. Then I think that will work. But sometimes unfortunately, sometimes you get people start yelling at each other, and it gets ugly sometimes. And I don't know if we're willing to be the forum for that.
Is there any other discussion?
I mean, I see both sides. I mean, I don't know the right answer. I mean, I don't like the fact that they have a way to really, I mean, they can contact us, but it'd be nice to see, interact with each other. Besides, we go to Facebook groups, I know they can do it, but it'd be nice to have the village post something to comment on. But I see the issue. I mean, I don't know the right answer, but I wish there was I mean, I'm not sure what the right answer is. I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm not sure.
On the communities that you visited, what was the discussion like on those?
It was good. One of the posts in particular is actually the post from Romeoville where I got the Monarch project idea. And so the comments were very positive and supportive. I think generally, as long as we're, behaving as a government that the people are happy with us, I don't think we'll have the backlash like we had in the last 4 years. Some of the things we post on are different proclamations, the Monarch Project, things like that. I don't think we're posting things that are particularly divisive. But there could be a project in the future where, like you said, comments could turn negative. It's, that's a risk that there is. I think for the most part we have very intelligent residents, and they would, if there's something like the Monarch Project, they like someone emailed me today about chrysalis. I think they would just generally like to, be like, this is great, I support this, or, give their opinion one way or another.
So I went back when we had comments on, just real quick. One comment was, the planning commission is a joke, just like the rest of Sugar Grove, out of touch, yes man, that can't even bother to look up when residents are addressing them. So that's just one. So they're not all happy comments, and I understand.
Can I ask you a question though? Is all the negative comments related to the Crown project? I mean, is that everything? Because that was a divisive issue. I mean, we always can turn it off if something happens. If we're doing something divisive, that the board is doing something that we infighting, or, what I'm saying, we disagree with something, or a lot of residents are against it, we always turn it off. And I would think before that project, was there anything going on? Because that's part of the reason it was turned off, because there's so much negativity about it.
I mean, yes, there was a just slew of nasty, unpleasant comments, not just directed at the village, but people directing at each other on there, and that was one thing I think that prompted us to discuss turning it off. But also because Irma said, we really suggest you turn it off, and we're your insurance company.
Mike, I think that was a good point. I think the concern would be that if it does get necessary to turn it off, then how does that look for us, right? Now we're stopping the freedom of speech from people putting it on because we feel, once again, that we don't like it. We've been through this. I like the idea of having people be able to talk to us, but I just don't believe that the village's Facebook page or socials is the sounding board for everybody. I think if they want to start a new page and invite everybody and sound off on another page, that's great for them. I just don't think our official Facebook page or socials is where it should be done at. And it's not just our residents. I love our residents, but it could be anybody. It could be somebody from out of this country. It could be somebody from another neighboring jurisdiction. It doesn't have to necessarily be us. Anybody is able to post anything.
That's the truth. You're right. I mean,
that's what's
scary. Anything else.
Right, and then it also doesn't necessarily mean that whatever we're going through, they can post. They can post anything, even if we're posting the butterfly. They can go on there and post a comment that has nothing to do with the butterfly and start a keyboard warrior type situation on there. And that's my concern. So I would like to see it stay. I think we should listen to Irma. I think we should work with staff and finding other avenues to get in touch with our residents or people that have concerns. Like I said, I'm definitely afraid of using our government socials as a sounding board for everybody.
I'll add to that, thinking about it. I'm a moderator for a sports page. That's like 10,000 people that attend. And the way we have it is, we have to approve every one, and the amount of porn and the amount of other things that are horrible stuff we post is scary. If we got open forum, it'd be kind of scary. And it's a public, big, huge public thing. We're a small town. I don't think you have much of it, but you could. It's true. So there's points there.
I think as long as we can figure out some other mechanism where comments can get back to us so that we can respond to residents who bring up their concerns, then having a ability for them to post to a Facebook page is not necessary. I think that the biggest issue is making sure that we have communication going back and forth so we hear the residents. Whether or not it's a Facebook page or, you know, anytime we put a post up, like Heidi said, have a link in it that says, you know, for comments to the board or whoever, you know, click here, and it takes you to a place where they can do that, and then somebody can either give us that or it goes to somebody specific to address and, you know, oh yeah, this is something Sue needs to see. No, somebody else on the board is going to take this one so that they get a, you know, comment back, you know, in a reasonable amount of time.
Is there a way we could have some shared, you know, if people say any questions, could you post to your personal, you know, shared, you know, the campaign page or somewhere it says just the Q&As, major things, you see a lot of questions, the same stuff. They post it somewhere, people can understand, people concerned, this is what the village is doing, this is how your personal view is, whatever it happens to be. So at least people understand that we care about what they think.
I think Matt wanted to say something.
Just real quick, I've said for many of these social media and First Amendments, just be aware that even though you may be posting to your personal page, if you are posting things related to village business, it now becomes an open forum, and now you're liable still under the village, regardless of what page it's on. I just want that to be very aware that that's one of the number one things that people aren't aware of is as soon as you take it to a personal page, it doesn't make it personal just because it's not a village-related account. As soon as you start talking about business of the village, it now becomes still a public forum for the village. So just be aware of that as well.
Noted.
Scott, for someone to send email to the entire board, do they have to click on each of our email addresses, or do we have one link that's by email to all board members?
We don't have a group that goes to all the board members. We definitely don't want to. We want to minimize ways that there's going to be discussion happening outside the village board. So what I'll do is go look into, and Tracy and I will work on a way for comments to be submitted, whether they're submitted and then maybe brought as some type of transmitted to the board and then maybe put in the packet as a comment, or we can collect them and then send them out in a way that is both legal and safe for us to do to make sure that we're not violating the Open Meetings Act. I don't want to say off the top of my head, we'll just create a group and throw that out there. I'm going to need to do a little bit of research to make sure we're not causing any problems for ourselves. But there's got to be some other ways to be able to do that too, to make it easier for, I would like to contact the village board. And in the very short term, we will start adding, you know, if you'd like to discuss this with your, you know, or if you'd like to email your trustees, here's how you contact them. We'll put a how do I contact trustees pinned post on the top of our Facebook page. There's already, if you click on the about link, it takes you to our webpage. It's got a lot of contact information through there already. But we can even push some more of that out in the short term, and then we'll research options for this. Maybe in the ask a question as a way to reach out, but we want to be just careful that we're not. Yeah, we want to make sure, yeah, so we'll be working with Brian and Jimmy and the rest of the team to make sure we do it appropriately, but we'll definitely be working on, it sounds like other channels or other ways for communication to happen is important, so we'll be focusing on it.
And if you send it to everybody and one person replies, say Sue replies, and she person reply all, and I say reply all, then we're violating the records.
That's the way we need to be very careful. Yep.
Is there any other discussion on the social media policy? Hearing none, we'll close the discussion on social media policy. Our next discussion item is the village attorney as the official parliamentarian. Can I have a motion to discuss?
I'll make that motion.
We have a first from trustee Lindy
Second.
and a second from trustee Bonnie. We will now discuss the village attorney as the official parliamentarian.
So the village attorney can weigh on this one as well, but just wanted to note that traditionally in Sugar Grove, the village attorney has acted as the parliamentarian, although it has never been officially codified in the village code. I did want to point out that there are some differences between the presiding officer of the meeting, which is the village president, according to village code, so that there are certain rules that govern the meeting and who runs it, who makes the final decision, and that is the presiding officer. The parliamentarian, though, as listed in my memo, it talks about the things that they can do as far as interpreting rules, ensuring fairness, advising the presiding officer, and then also assisting with complex motions and amendments, all things that have been traditionally done by the village attorney in Sugar Grove. I also tried to list out some merits that I could find about having the village attorney serve as the parliamentarian for meetings, and so just wanted to bring this forward. This was, again, a request by multiple trustees to have this discussed, and happy to answer any questions, and I'm sure the village attorney would be happy to weigh in as well.
I asked the village attorney, has your office or your firm performed this duty before?
Yes. So myself personally, I've been the village attorney for Melrose Park for Robbins, Illinois. I've also served in assistant village attorney for Berwyn, Cicero, Tinley Park, Sleepy, Broadview. As a municipal attorney or a government attorney, it's what we do probably. And most of the time, even just tonight watching Scott, Scott's been able to kind of move the agenda. It really does come down to when there's a conflict in procedure among various people, and I prefer not to be involved in the most routine things, and it doesn't even happen, but if there is something conflicting, it's beneficial to have.
And I know that's how we've done it in the past, just didn't have it codified. So
I think,
I'm in support of this.
yeah, and I was the trustee that brought this up. It's always nice to have a third-party person, a person outside to be the referee when people disagree. And I think it's just common sense that we have somebody that's is our village attorney that has the power vested within them to go over these things. And as you read through this, there's just the merits alone for his efficiency and the resolution of the disputes, the legal and procedural matters. I think it's nice to have you. We've often, almost all the time, go to council when we have questions, and it's nice just to get that in writing now. So,
If I may also, it's also, if you have a question in advance, something coming up, that also helps as well. On the fly, it's tough sometimes to really fairly, procedurally do things. Someone feels like something procedures used against them. But I would encourage, if we were to proceed this route, that you contact in advance if you have any questions about the procedure.
that's fair.
Would you appoint backup parliamentarians, so if the village attorney is not present at a meeting, it defaults to the village president or the village administrator?
That makes sense.
Yeah, so we typically have a member, and I would be a very rare occasion, we wouldn't have someone from Vasily Law at one of our meetings. If that's the case, and I defer to the village attorney, but you probably wouldn't have the presiding officer and the parliamentarian be the same person. But I would be happy to do my best if there was no village attorney present.
Someone from our office will be present. Can't guarantee it, you never know, but I'd say 90% of the time. You're right, exactly. And for example, one of our colleagues, my colleagues, is actually former. There's the public access counselor for the Attorney General. She understands procedure and motions better than anyone in the state. So if I can't do it, someone will be there. We're well qualified to provide backup in those situations too.
But that would fall under the village attorney, so if there's a way to appoint a backup in case the village attorney is not present.
Just have it in there just in case.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll close the discussion on the village attorney as the official parliamentarian. And our next discussion item is the school and park land cash and impact fees. Can I have a motion to discuss?
I'll bring that up. I'll make a motion.
We have a first from trustee Michaels. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from trustee Lindy. We will now open discussion for the school and park land cash and impact fees.
Just want to clarify, this is something that was changed, a change that was made by the previous board. It is, if this board would like to discuss it and make the change, just want to note that there are two different sections that would need to be updated. Land cash is separately listed in our village code as to how it's calculated and how it works, and our impact fees are annually approved by resolution by the village board. So happy to get feedback and move forward as the board would like. Happy to answer questions as well.
I guess I'm content with leaving it the way it is. I guess I'm concerned because of the action that the school board just took after you just met with them, that they authorized to go ahead with the lawsuit, so that's concerning to me. I don't understand it. I thought that's why you were meeting with them, to work on things. You just started. And then while we're talking about this, and because I know not all the communities are on the same page on this based on what I've heard and read on other annexation agreements, what they actually charge, and I know some of the things we charge other communities don't. So I guess I'm just concerned with the reason this was passed, and with the school board already going ahead and authorizing, I believe, the superintendent and the board president to move ahead on the lawsuit. I guess I would like to keep the current ordinance. That's my opinion.
In my opinion, I think I disagree 100%. I think, I mean, you heard the school board when they talked about, they used some words like blackmail and other things. There's a lot of words they used that they were pissed off, and I consider point, because it looks, I mean, to me, if I was on the school board, look at their point of view. If I was on a board, I'd say, they're telling me that if we sue, we're going to take the money away. I'm just kind of like, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. I think you're daring them to sue. I think that was a bad move. I'm just saying, my opinion. I think if I was, I think we should reverse it.
I agree that the language should be reversed to the way it read. I don't think I think the school district was backed into a corner because they're going to lose out on millions of dollars, and to hold back on these funds is not correct.
Despite the lawsuit, I'd like to have a good relationship with the school board going forward. I don't think withholding their fees contributes to that, and so I also think that we should not hold back any fees or land cash.
I think it's being held in escrow, so if it is found that they were wronged in the TIF or whatever, they get that money back. It's just, in the discussion that we had was, if you're being sued by someone, you don't help them sue you necessarily with money that you're giving them, which they're not statutorily, required to have. We're giving them to. We're giving the land cash, we're giving the impact fees. Now it's because we want good schools, so we're doing that.
I think those funds are supposed to be used for capital improvements, not operational, which a lawsuit would fall under.
Well, okay, they can't use it to sue, but I guess, is that become a shell game then? With them, you're giving them this money and then, oh, okay, well, I can't use this, but I'll take money out of this one, so it becomes a little bit of a shell game, is what I'm concerned with. It's not like it's gonna be completely held away, it's put in escrow until it's
I
decided.
have a question for you though. I mean, it says here, these funds shall be used for legal and litigation purposes. I mean, this was put on because of the Crown project, and Crown, they have to pay for legal, I mean, the village is not for any legal costs. So there should be nothing in this account for why we hold money that we're not going to have legal costs for. And this is for one project. I mean, it's obviously for the future, but it's set for one contract, and we're not on the hook for the liability. So
Just to,
No.
I just want to clarify, the intent is not to hold it back and for us to use the money. The intent is to just hold the money until the litigation ends and then release the funds to them. It's not.
Well, no, but it says here, these funds should not be used for living. I mean, I don't know, I completely disagree with it, but.
So, Crown is currently paying for lawsuits against us related to the TIF. However, this is an action that we are taking, and so I question whether they would actually cover this because we are choosing to withhold these fees. I don't actually know if that counts as being TIF related, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't want to put the village at a risk that possibly we could get sued for, and have to pay legal fees to defend that.
So you're concerned that this action is illegal and will be sued for this?
I don't know that it falls under the category of TIF-related expense. If that's something that we choose, like if we choose to withhold fees from a school, is that litigation that Crown would actually cover? I would question that. Are you okay with it?
You know, I honestly have no idea. I mean, I've never seen a redevelopment agreement that would consider fees and costs unrelated to the TIF plan as part of the TIF expense. I'd have to look and see. I don't think so, but I'd have to look and see the agreement.
I mean, I was concerned because you had just met with them, and the absolute next meeting, they authorized to go ahead with a lawsuit. I mean, I thought that was an insult to you, is the way I took it.
No, I just don't have the ability to act on. I can't offer them anything else. I can't resolve. I can't make the. It's hard for me to even respond to something litigation related. And
I mean, it's pretty much that Crown and the school board have to agree to something that we would agree to. And if your party can agree that our hands are tied.
I understand that, but we
agree to have
haven't.
a good relationship or a bad one. I still can't do anything.
Right, but what I'm saying is we haven't even had the update from you of your meeting with them, and all of a sudden, the next board meeting, they go ahead and authorize this, and you went there in good faith to say, hey, let's try to figure something out. So I guess that I was just concerned with the way they took their action immediately after you met with them, and then, you know, this is already on the books, and we're changing it to move the money forward, but yet they took that action.
That's what I took the answer. She asked a question. The meeting was for the school board to try to get the village to change something, and Sue told them we can't change something. It's going to, liability to us. I think that's the reason behind it, because just because you have a nice relationship doesn't mean it's we're saying you're my friend, but I can't do anything for you. So that their answer is that, well, I guess we have to go with a sue. And that's, if I was in their shoes, which I'm not, but that's what they got to decide. Well, yes, we have a different board. She's nice, everything else, but it's not. She can't resolve my problem. So therefore, I have to litigate.
So the school board can want to negotiate, and I could want to negotiate. But if Crown doesn't want to negotiate, then the school board takes whatever action they want to.
And I know we have an update coming.
Yeah, I would caution getting too much into the litigation details in open session.
So,
if possible.
yeah, I know what you're trying to say, and we can discuss that. So that was my number one concern right off the bat.
Is there any other discussion?
Just wanted to add, this sounds fairly split, so it sounds like bring it back for under general business for a vote.
Hearing no other discussion, we'll close the discussion of school and parkland cash and impact fees at this time. Our next discussion item is the Maryland New and Road Resurfacing Joint Agreement with IDOT. Do we have a motion to discuss?
So moved.
We have a first from trustee Special.
Second.
And a second from trustee Michaels. We will now open discussion.
Good evening. This is just basically the last phase of this project where we authorize our share of construction and construction engineering costs to IDOT. So it's our portion. In my board report, it breaks it down to the section of Merrill Road that goes from Wheatfield to Bliss is approximately $621,000, and our share would only be $155,000. And then the section of Wheeler that goes from Esker to Dugan would be $590,000, and our share would be like $147,000. So it's just a joint funding agreement with IDOT, it's standard. And we've just, I mean, basically the projects are already all approved, so it's just a
Yeah, I concur. Pretty straightforward.
Is there any other discussion?
As you can see, simple IDOT projects require a lot of paperwork.
Hearing no other discussion, we will close the discussion of the Maryland Wheeler Road Resurfacing Joint Agreement at this time.
Brad, when do you think that project will be done?
These are probably set up for August 11th.
Oh, so this fall?
Our next discussion item will be the King County Hazard Mitigation Agreement. Do we have a motion to discuss?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion from trustee Lindy. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from trustee Bobby. We will now discuss the King County Hazard Mitigation Agreement.
Thank you. So Sherry Rowe participates in the King County Hazard Mitigation Committee, and that committee basically, which is King County Office of Emergency Management and the King County Environmental and Water Resources, have put together an action plan for King County to help mitigate some natural disasters that may happen throughout King County. Now, federally, if we are in King County to receive any type of funds, we have to have action plans in place, and this is one of the requirements. Now, I know FEMA is starting to look and feel in different shapes that might be pushed back down into the state level, but as it stands today, for us to receive some type of federal funding, something happens in King County or specifically in Sugar Grove, we need to participate in this plan. And this is just basically a housekeeping item that they're asking us to sign off on to move forward with the resolution. Be happy to answer any questions.
So this isn't something new, this is something that's been done for a number of years.
Just a couple of years. This is a continuation, yes. And they're asking all municipalities that participate to sign off on it by the end of the year, which is for them would be June. So they're asking us to all have it adopted and approved.
I'm good.
Is there any other discussion on the mitigation agreement? Hearing none, we will close discussion on the King County Hazard Mitigation Agreement at this time. Our next discussion item is the Axon body worn cameras and taser program. Do we have a motion to discuss?
As stated.
Second.
We have a motion from trustee Bonnie and a second from trustee Special, and we'll now discuss the body worn cameras and taser program.
Thank you. So our vendor that helps us with our non-lethal tools, which is Axon, we have been a customer of theirs for 20 plus years. Throughout the years, there's been different models. Back in 2022, we went up to the latest model at that time, which was the Taser 7. We brought forth at one of the village board meetings to purchase 14 of the tasers, and that was to outfit the full-time officers with tasers. And the plan was to use the old tasers, the X26Ps, I apologize for the different model numbers, and provide those as a pool so that our part-time officers could carry them, but they were shared, so we didn't have enough to go around. During our training in January, we discovered that we were training on 2 different platforms. So the full-time officers still had to maintain their skill set with the X26P, the old one, and then with the brand new ones, the Taser 7s. Part-timers had to do the same, just in case if there was an unusual incident where a full-time officer needed assistance and they went down or something happened, the part-time officer needs to know how to utilize that Taser 7 if his X26 or her X26P doesn't work anymore. So staff had looked at this. Our desire for moving forward, and we budgeted for it and was approved in this fiscal year's budget, was to move everybody, migrate the platform all to the Taser 7. I'm going to let you know there's a Taser 10 that's been out for a little over 18 months or so. We're not looking to go to that model. We're on a 5-year agreement with the Taser 7s. And then at the same time, Axon is also our body-worn camera vendor, And we've been a customer since 2022 with the body worn cameras. And then January 1st of 2025, our size agency is mandated to all officers have to carry a body worn camera. We've been very beneficial. Director Anastasia was great. He got us 3 grants to help offset some of our costs throughout the time that we got the tasers. It is a huge impact. It's a mandate that's not funded by the state, so it's an expensive cost. However, it's been very beneficial for all of us in law enforcement because a lot of stuff that people had always interpreted or thought was happening, having that body worn camera, that video has been very relevant for us anytime we may have an issue that would come up or might have an officer complaint. And then when you say, hey, we'd like to look at the body worn camera, they're like, oh, I'm done, I'm not here. So it's basically turned away and limited the number of complaints that are being issued against the officers. So, and it doesn't happen often here in Sugar Grove. But today, so part of the new budget year is we're looking to purchase the additional TASER 7s. And so we have 2 body-worn camera agreements running different 5-year terms. At the same time, right now, we have a TASER 7 agreement running on a different 5-year term. Axon has come to us and asked to combine all the agreements with the new additional TASER 7s, and they're providing a cost savings to the village over the next 5-year terms. Now, when we sign off on an agreement, and it's approved typically by the board, and we go and do it, they lock in that price for the entire 5 years. So by the time you get to the 5th year, cost, if a brand new agency purchases in year 2, 3, 4, and 5, there's usually an inflationary cost or that the equipment has gone up somewhere between 3 and 4% every year. So we're locked into that rate, which is good. But however, when you come to that 5th year, there's a big jump. You're going to see somewhere between a 12 to 18, 20% rate increase when you hit year 5. So Axon has provided us with, I believe, an $80-something thousand savings by combining these agreements, locking us in for the 5 years over the time of the agreement. And then it looks like this is just a new technique that they're going to use every couple of years, is they're going to probably come back with an agreement, renegotiate, because we know some of the equipment and some of the tariff costs where the equipment may be coming from is going to go up in price. So yeah, it's $80,294 over the next 5 years. So I'm just looking for a direction from the board. 1, to purchase the additional tasers that have been budgeted, and 2, to authorize us to combine into an agreement to help us save the village over $80,000 over the next 5 years.
Actually, a question. So it says you're purchasing it, but you're paying over 5 years. It sounds like a lease. So how's that working?
We own.
Okay, so why? So is it a loan, or is it you paying it back a loan? Why is it paid over 5 years then?
So basically, so I'm a vendor. Instead of upfronting it, having an agency go out and purchase it upfront in year 1, and they'll support it with a software maintenance agreement over those 5 years.
So it's a maintenance agreement part too.
Yes, that's what they're doing. And with the body-worn cameras, every 26 months, if a new model or any model comes out, they're replacing it, because they're seeing you're getting about a 26-month useful life out of today's body-worn cameras. Now, we're due to get a new camera because we're approaching in July. So now the terminology is body-worn camera 3, the latest one is body-worn camera 4. So we'll be upgrading. Part of that, though, just like an iPhone, we went from the lightning cord to USB-C cord. All of the peripherals changed with it. So just the way the market and the technology has been driven.
Chief, is storage included in this
Storage is
for the video?
Storage is the same, so it is for our body-worn cameras are still included in it. And then other features that we lost when we initially got the body-worn cameras was a live action view. So any supervisor or something was happening on the other side of town, someone can look and dial up someone's body-worn camera, and they're hearing for distress or help over the radio, someone in the office or someone else can look in at the camera and see what's happening in the field and provide radio communication to do that. So
The purchase and maintenance of hardware to store the body worn cameras and the squad car cameras would be at least half of this agreement on its own.
yes, and I just want to clarify. So we have separate agreements for the Fleet 3, which is our squad car cameras. It has nothing to do with this tonight. So what we do with AXA.
So, just a quick question, because I got lost a little bit.
Sure.
So, we have body worn cameras and we have the tasers, and they're asking for them all to be in one agreement.
We're looking to, our suggestion, and they're looking for us to put them into a new 5-year agreement, lock in the price today, and save some of the inflation, the price increases that they put on every year to the new customers.
Okay, so that doesn't mean, like, if we have one that's not at that 26-month or whatever, they're not gonna take it out early. It's, because they're giving us all new ones all at
Right,
once?
so everyone, if we sign off on these agreements, all brand new body worn cameras, our 24 body worn cameras, 24 body worn cameras, sorry, will be replaced no matter what. The additional 7 are not at the 26-month,
Okay.
because we just got them last year.
Okay, so
7 of
we're
them
not-
are not gonna be, so we're gonna body worn camera 3s for 7 of them, and the other 20-something are gonna be body worn camera 4s.
Okay.
Makes sense, save 80,000.
Yeah.
It helps us out just financially too. I know Matt over there was like,
Yeah, look at
budget.
Matt, he's
He was ready to speak because it makes it so much easier on the budget
Yeah.
for us to, when we go to budget all this. So we're not getting this stuff, so. Okay.
We'll have time at the end of that 5-year period before that to renegotiate or to check with other vendors for better deals.
Correct, and I think that's what TASER has started to do, is they're approaching the agencies every couple of years now, instead of letting it go to the 5 years. You can let it go to 5, but you're gonna take a big hit when you go to renew and buy the product at the, if you do a 3%, that's, basically 15% increase on cost year 6 to purchase brand new, to start an agreement all over, or you can split it in year 2 or 2.5. I'm sorry, I didn't-
So essentially, sorry, what he's trying, so we're gonna be in a 5-year agreement, but after about year 2, they're gonna come back and actually try to renegotiate with us at 2 years, 2.5 years, to redo another 5-year agreement, so you're not seeing the 5-year inflation cost. They're gonna allow you to do it every 2 to 2.5 years, so that you're still getting the same equipment if you wanna let it ride, or you can get the new equipment under a new term.
But doesn't the price go up at that point? Is it?
It will, but you won't see it after 5 years, you won't see a 20% increase, you'll be able to kind of
Spread.
phase in your increases, rather than hitting at 5 years, it could be 20%. On a contract that's a couple $100,000, it could be a larger budget increase. So they keep you concurrent in trying to keep you on the newest technology, but also allowing you to spread that 5-year cost over.
Right.
Hopefully that explained it a little bit.
Makes sense.
And Axon is the pinnacle of quality when it comes to this type of equipment. So TASER-wise, they're the only ones that make it. There's no other place to go to get them. And then with body cameras, in order to not have Axon, look for a different vendor. They don't pair up, they don't match, they don't work with your body camera. There's a lot of different features that are protect the officers by having both the Axon body camera and the Axon taser itself. So really, departments that have gone to other mixed match have always typically gone back to Axon just because of their quality and their standards. So for the people on the board,
Just curious, because no one else has taser besides that one.
that's correct.
Sorry, I missed.
Tasers has they're the only ones that produce tasers.
Correct. There's other ECDs, electric control devices that are out there, but nothing like the TASER. There's other vendors, but TASER has the market.
Interesting.
Is there any other discussion?
So Sounds good.
All right, we'll close the discussion for the body-worn cameras and taser program at this time. The next discussion item is squad car replacements. If I can have a motion to discuss.
Motion.
We have a first from trustee Lindy and a second from
Second.
trustee Wilson. And we'll now discuss squad car replacement.
So, let me provide a little bit of background. COVID hit us, and it shut down the vehicle manufacturing plants. And it's been a tough time recovering from that for law enforcement. So if you look at GM, you look at Ford, you look at Chevy, or I'm sorry, Dodge, when the manufacturers are making a small segment of the population of all their cars, they're looking at limited resources and time to make that happen. Because the general population are buying more cars for their specific purposes. So our cars are unique. They have special features on them. So there's a small window every year that the manufacturers will open up and allow law enforcement and government entities, including the fire department, to purchase special police package vehicles. During COVID, we placed an order in, and with the manufacturers being shut down, we didn't see cars for a while. There was a lag time for some agencies for 3 to 4 years, and the family plan kept getting caught up right now. But it's still a limited number of cars, again, for those that make their way into the government realm. We have Chevy Tahoes for the most part in our fleet. We transitioned over from the Fords over to the Chevy Tahoes. This is the officer's workstation. It's a little bit more roomier. The price was not much more. We're seeing better value on our maintenance. So our costs for our maintenance have decreased drastically, except for our 2 Chevy cars that were built during COVID. So we call those the COVID cars because they like to go to the manufacturer all the time. So, or back to the repair shop. So, but part of the capital improvement and then during the budget process is there's a rotation schedule that's built in for all village fleet vehicles. So there's so many years that each car typically will make its way. And during that year, part of our budget is we're putting funds away to transfer it to the vehicle replacement fund. So these vehicles that we're purchasing, there's funds that are already in the account to pay for them. We try to do some, and just depends on where it's cycled in, and with the gap there, we used to get 2 to 3 cars every year, and sometimes 1 car 1 year, but now there's we're gonna be hitting, 1 year we're gonna have to buy 4 because of COVID to play catch up and move it through that cycle. Our vendor, or the state's vendor, and it's not the state of Illinois, so General Motors contracts with typically a single car dealership in the state that authorizes the General Motors product, and that is Mayo Chevrolet. So Mayo Chevrolet has, we'll call it the master agreement with Chevy. So they open up a window, and during that window, last year they got 100 cars. 2 years ago, they got 100 cars approved through GM, just for the entire state of Illinois for police vehicles. That's it. 100 vehicles, and I should say, including fire vehicles. That's all that they were built, that they were able to allocate to Illinois. Now, mom and pop, and I'm not saying this in a bad tone, Chevy dealership elsewhere still can order this, but they're not getting, they are gonna get, they can place an order, but they have to place the order during the right window. They have to place an order, typically, those are the manufacturers are typically, hey, we opened up Illinois, we authorized 100 cars, but we're only gonna build 95. So they have to go back and tell the agencies, hey, we need to cut 5 cars, and that sometimes happens to the mom and pop dealership versus Mayo Chevrolet. So, so let me just give you a little bit overview. We have 2 cars that are due for car replacement in 25, 26. We're looking to replace a 2019 Chevy Tahoe and a 2017 Ford Police Utility Explorer. Last week, on Thursday, we took delivery of 2 of our Chevy Tahoes from last budget year. That's the lead time, the length of time for it. Once we placed the order back in sometime in 24, I don't know if it was in October when we asked the board for permission. That's how long it took them to build it and get it to us. Now, there's also still more time if we had to get it to the outfitter. So we took possession of 2. So I thank the dealer, knowing that we have 2 more that are due this year. He has an agency that also requested 2 vehicles and another one that their board said, hey, we can't come up with the funds, we have to cancel the order. And that happens infrequently. So we have 2 temporary vehicles on hold with Chevy, with Miles Chevrolet, and we can let them go if the board wants us to, or we can get them now and not worry about waiting from October when a new one opens up until April time frame for them and they, actually deliver them April, May time frame. So I'm here tonight to say, to ask the board consideration and also approval for tonight that they have 2 vehicles ready to be shipped out to an agency that will take them. So if they answer any questions.
I turn to Matt.
Yeah, just real quick, just so I know some people haven't gone through this process of how we handle our cars, but as Chief discussed, we have everything in a depreciation schedule that we are funding that on an annual basis. We funded it 100% since I've been here for 8 years. So every car that is being generally brought to board is already fully funded in our capital fund. So this is just getting the authorization to use the funds that are currently set aside in that fund for it. The village is very prudent in that. So I would say that it's not a common thing to have almost $2 million in funds for cars if we need it, but we do. And that's where we're able to take advantage of this. I just look back, we ordered the last ones that we just got in October, and that was quick compared to, we were over about a year to 14 months the last time we ordered them. So the ability to get them this quick not only helps us budget, because we're getting the year that we're ordering them, but just being able to get potentially back on track a little bit for Chief and his cars that we were delayed on a lot of those ones that we had to push during COVID.
Can I ask a question? You mentioned that you have a time, a schedule to get cars. Do some cars get used more than other ones?
We do a great job rotating our cars around, and we look at the mileage, and we also look at engine time, because when the officers are idling along the side of the road or writing reports or running traffic or having to leave the equipment on the cars running to keep the equipment going, it adds up on the engine hours. So we will move an officer or 2 from one vehicle to the other just so that it will last longer. So.
Just curious, what mileage do you get the vehicles at?
We don't look, we don't look at the actual miles anymore. We look at how much we're spending on repairs. We're also looking at the engine hours, basically. And then we'll also look at for depreciation. We'll usually set aside a vehicle that's still good and keep it in the fleet in case we get in a wreck. Someone hits us or we hit someone else. Because if that happens, that car's gone for 18 months, 2 years before we're able to order a new one. So we have
this. It's a spare, yeah. It wasn't a shopping, it was something.
Right.
If you keep one of the 2019 or 2017 as a spare, does the other one get sold?
Yeah, so we'll surplus the vehicles, so we'll sell them at auction. So we have 2 vehicles that will be put at auction when these come in, and they'll help offset and go back into the capital fund instead of the general fund.
How many Explorers do we have left?
We have 2, so we're going to go down to 1. So, yeah, one of this the 2017 is going to be sold. And just so you're aware, we just one of the COVID cars was $13,000 in repair costs. Thankfully, it was covered under warranty, So with what happened to the engine, so again, there's just certain things that happen during, we're waking our way through these cycles. All the other cars are stable. For some reason, you bought a car during COVID, it's a chance.
So procedurally, if you are looking for approval tonight, do we take a vote on this?
Please, if
That, Brian, is that okay?
You notice it up, yeah, so you can take the yeah, authorizing the purchase, you're just basically approving the resolution.
It was been in the packet since Friday.
Yeah.
All right, Tracy, I'm sorry, so we'll take a vote to approve the purchase of the 2 squad cars that Chief has described. Tracy, can we have a roll call?
Trustee Lindy?
Aye.
Trustee London?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Roscoe?
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the resolution to purchase has been approved.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is the temporary police station location. Can we have a motion to discuss?
As stated.
We have a first from Trustee Bonnie. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Trustee London. We will now discuss the temporary police station location.
Thank you, and I think that's why I was looking for a little direction of how you wanted to proceed, if you wanted Gordon Clark to move forward. So now that we're kind of moving in that direction, we need to find a location for us to be at a space, a temporary space for 12 to 14 months. So over the last couple of months, 3 departments were involved at looking at spaces here in Sugar Grove. And Sugar Grove is very fortunate. Most of the businesses are full. So you have limited locations that the police department can locate to. And tonight, I'm hoping you'll understand, I'm not going to name any of them yet. We're going to talk about the facilities that are available, and if you so choose, we'll go into executive session, so we're not competing against the businesses. So just bear with me for a little bit. So our goal, our desire is to keep the police department together. If we spread out because if we find a business that can only house a portion of the police department here, and we find another business that can support the police department over here, it's really dysfunctional. It interferes with our direct line of supervision, our continuity, our ability to have the command level and the control, and making sure that policies are being adhered to. But overall, it's just a place for the public to come to. So our desire, obviously, is to stay as a unit wherever we go. And that's what we kind of looked at when we saw 3 different businesses in the community. 2 of them were better suited to handle that all of us can move together in our equipment. So Gordon Clark, as you understand, we have a big lift to do. If everything goes well, we have to be out of this building with the help of Public Works by August. So, and then they can, start renovating the police department. So, there's a couple options, and then there's also one that if neither of these work out, there's a last resort. But again, I don't want to, there's the 160 building that I prefer not to split up their staff either. The village rents from that facility today, and it could accommodate some of us, but not all of us. So, and again, we have squad cars to move to, and we have a lot of other equipment that has to go into that space. It's not the best suited area, but I just wanted to bring you up to speed that we need a temporary space. Matt, can you talk about the budget that's available for us to relocate for the 12 to 14 months?
Currently in the 25-26 budget, we put in $100,000 for the year, which is May 1st to April 30th for the relocation, but whatever that cost is, but also pretty tight with lease. That was a budgeted number. We didn't know at the time where we were going to land, but that is what is currently in the budget for this fiscal year.
I would like to talk about this in executive session so we can get some real answers and get some real locations.
I agree.
Is there any other discussion? All right, we'll close the discussion of the temporary police station location at this time. And now we will have staff reports.
I'll start with you, thank you. My report is in your packet. I've been working, transitioning still some of the economic development things over after Michael's retirement and the transition. And then Tracy did an excellent job after May 6th, getting the website updated and letterhead and different things like that. It all takes time, and I appreciate the effort from her. I'm happy to answer any questions. Yep, absolutely. Matt, you could do your report, please.
Yeah, just real quick as an update, you probably have received an email from the company before. I know I sent an email out. That is our training for the year. Even as elected officials, everyone needs to complete the anti-harassment training. If you do it for your current employer as well, we can just get a copy of that and a certification of that. We do not need you to do both. And it just needs to be supplied to us by December 31st of this year. That's my only update.
Can I ask a quick question? I think there was a link for other trainings on that. We only have to do the sexual harassment.
Yeah, that's the only requirement. Those are the other trainings that we offer that you can take if you would like. But the only required is the anti-harassment.
Yeah, I'm requiring staff to do all of them, but you guys only have.
I just, you know, I saw we only had to do this, and I saw links for all of them, and I just want to make sure I get what I'm supposed to. So.
Yeah.
Do you know about the project time frame it takes to complete the harassment?
I think it's a 45-minute training, 45 or an hour.
Oh.
Brad?
Report is in there, the only update is, well 11 is reinstalled, and we were going to schedule testing tomorrow, but most of my staff has CPR training in the morning from 8 to noon, so they won't start the testing that late, so I think it's going to be Thursday or Friday. Progress, excuse me.
And if I didn't mention yet, we were lucky enough to partner with Sugar Grove Fire Department to do, for police staff already does CPR training, is all CPR certified, but we wanted to get, it came through our safety committee as an idea to get more staff members trained on CPR, and especially Public Works with the work they're out doing in the community, in the field. So it was something that we had several members go through Monday, and then we'll have more people doing on Wednesday, so it's something that's a big help from our partners over at the fire department. So I forgot to mention that. That was a great thing for all of us. First time I ever did it in my life, I kind of felt guilty that moment. So. Danny?
I have nothing to add to my report.
Can I ask Brad?
I'm sorry.
The standard question, I see it says estimated 3 weeks. We don't have any more closer to the bridge.
We did get a little bit of a teaser update, they won't commit to anything. It sounds like it's going to be like the first week of June,
Okay.
but I haven't got any kind of commitment yet.
All right. I've been telling people who have asked, are asking me probably June.
Yeah.
So, all right.
And the path, is that something you can do at their discretion?
So they have indicated they're not going to do the path until the bridge is set and the crane's out there.
Oh.
So they want to manage it. It'll be like they're finished their way out with the path and
Yeah.
so you can decide.
I thought they might put down a gravel base and drive over it. Just
No, because they're entering through that path along Blackberry for Fox Metro. That way the ruts stay there and they're not big more with the park. That's where they've got everything through so far, and already mixed trucks and everything on that path.
it's pretty nice and settled. So.
Yeah.
Dan, you can go.
I have nothing to add.
Questions for Dan? Chief?
Thank you for ordering when that came out, and you quickly understood it. You have other commitments and work responsibilities, but the community was very supportive. We raised about $5,500 on Friday for a Special Olympics. And we still have more money coming in, so our number's going to grow because this year with the QR code, there are a lot of people that are donating online, so we know a couple people that have said that are making those donations. So this is probably the largest over the years we've been doing it, the most
reports. Thank you.
All right, next we have trustee reports. Trustee Lundy, did you want to start?
Yeah, the library meeting, board meeting will be on the 28th. I plan on going to that. Big news with the library is May 31st, the library summer reading kickoff program is kicking off between 1 and 3 at the library. They're going to have all kinds of fun activities there. Summer reading program starts from the 31st and it goes till July 31st. So it starts May 31st, July 31st. Adults are included in this. Grand prizes include Kindle Fire 8, Ravinia lawn seats. So I mean, let's get reading. There's also a book bingo for those for extra tickets if you're a good reader. I listened to the King County Forest Preserve District's meeting for May 13th. They have a lot of their money that they got from the referendum are going toward land acquisition. I think they have $1 million they're set for that, and for adding more staff and staff retention. And some construction projects like resurfacing and building maintenance. They're adding 3 new full-time employees, 1 new part-time employee. They discussed the Lennard development and getting the 42 acres that they'll be getting from that. And plus Lennard's giving them, I think it's $20,000 for restoration as part of that. So they view that piece of property as a very important piece for connections between their parcels, so they're very happy about that. Blisswood cleanup with Mary O is set for the 24th, which is Saturday, from 9 to 12. I think she had originally said parking lot at the village, the Bible church, but it's going to be at the main parking because I think they had their garage sale. So she said.
Oh, I thought that was part of it.
Well, you could. I mean, you could go to the garage sale and then go help Mary O. But watch out. I heard ticks are bad, and be prepared for, cover up for poison ivy. But it's always fun. You always learn new stuff with Mary O.
Trustee London.
Well, I attended the meeting with staff and went over information on the Grove and took a tour of the facility and discussed the information on the renovations. That's all I have for right now, other than there's lots more to read.
Trustee Special.
Nothing at this time.
Trustee Michael.
I did stop by the Dunkin' Donuts on Friday, and I want to compliment the police officers that were on staff. They did a great job interacting with the public. It was a great cause. It was a nice job.
Trustee Roscoe.
To the police department, thanks Chief. I can't believe it's this long. You guys get this text is just, it's crazy how, that a shame it is. So I'm glad you gave one. I went to Dunkin' Donuts on Friday too, and all the officers were pretty happy. It was a nice environment, like there's a lot of money.
Trustee Bowman.
Nothing at this time.
For President's report, just 2 items. Trustee London, Trustee Roscoff, and I were at the Sugar Grove Cornwall meeting. They are looking for volunteers. They'd love to have as many board members participate as possible. So if anyone has extra time, just definitely let Jaden or anyone else know, and they'd be happy to have us all. The other is for Groovin in the Grove. I personally have committed to quite a few things, including the Chamber, the Monarch Project, helping with the Cornwall. There's several things, but Groovin in the Grove is really looking for one of us from the board. Are you able to?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what they were looking for as a trustee, so it sounds like they were volunteering. That's awesome. Jackie would be the one, she was here earlier.
And I've talked to Rick Montalto about it as well.
Okay, perfect. And that's all I have.
We do have a need for executive session tonight.
All right, so we will move to executive session. Need a motion? Can I please motion to move into executive session?
If you don't mind, for tonight, for personnel, litigation, and property and land acquisition.
For discussion purposes only, to not take action, and to adjourn from there. Correct. For exception to the open meeting. If I said that.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and we will now move into executive session.
Vote to go in.
Oh, after roll call, just kidding.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Lundy?
Which one?
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee London?
Aye.
Trustee Roscoe?
Aye.
That's
I know.
We're now in luxury.